There is a belief held sincerely by people who consider themselves spiritually advanced. It goes like this: before you were born, before you had a body, before you had a single neuron capable of forming a thought, your soul chose this. You chose your parents. You chose your suffering. You signed the contract in a dimension you cannot access, in a language you cannot speak, with a version of yourself that does not exist in any form you can verify. And therefore, this is your fault. Let me prosecute that.
A contract requires conscious parties who understand the terms and can refuse. Where was the refusal clause in your soul contract? At what point did your soul have the option to review the terms and walk away? You cannot consent to terms you cannot read. You cannot sign without the capacity to refuse. A contract with no exit is not a contract.
It is a sentence.
Notice who benefits from the soul contract theory, not you. Never you. The parents benefit because if you choose them, they owe you nothing. Your suffering was your idea. You asked for this. The state benefits because if you choose this life, your chains are self-imposed. Your oppression is your curriculum. You selected this course. Every person who has ever used your suffering against you benefits from you believing. You ask for it, notice that.
Notice it carefully.
This is the cruelest inversion in the history of human thought. Every other system of oppression admits it is doing something to you. The soul contract theory goes further. It says you did it to yourself. The parent bears no moral weight because you choose them. The state bears no moral weight because you choose this life. This doesn't just excuse the perpetrator, it makes the victim the architect of their own victimhood. There is no accountability left for anyone but you,
and you don't even get to remember signing.
The soul contract theory takes the one thing everyone agrees you never had a choice about being born, and relocates that choice to a dimension that cannot be examined, a moment that cannot be remembered, a self that cannot be questioned. It is the parent saying you wanted this with the universe as cosigner. It is the state saying you chose your chains with God as the notary. And if you are suffering, the soul contract has an answer.
You chose this for your growth, not their accountability, not the system's failure. Your growth, that is not spiritual truth. That is gaslighting with a chakra attached.
You did not choose your parents. You did not choose to be born into a system designed to extract from you.
No version of you existed to make that choice. No contract was signed. You arrived involuntary, unconsenting. And the world said, welcome. You owe us. The soul contract is the oldest con in the universe, the one that makes you responsible for everything that was done to you.
Oh, I appreciate it against life, and thank you for being here. Today, I'm going to discuss why the claim of an immortal soul fails to debunk antinatalism. And by the way, if you have not listened to the full soundtrack that is available, let me see if I can just post a link to the playlist, because I know some people have not checked it out yet. Just 1 second. You know what? No, I have it right here. I just want to make sure that you guys hear it if you're interested in listening to it. Anyway, let me just post a link to the channel. How about that? Because this is on it. No, I have the playlist right here. Sorry, I know this is a distraction. All right, I'm posting the link right now. All right, so there's the soundtrack. Now let me get into the speech. I want to talk about why the claim of an immortal soul or the soul contract fails to debunk antinatalism, because that is a gaslighting tactic that we are constantly being confronted with. And the argument goes as follows: we have always existed, we chose to be born, and when we die, we just return to where we came from. And these people think that it debunks antinatalism, but it actually validates our position. So if you were to ask these people who claim to believe in reincarnation, they believe in a soul contract, if you were to ask them how a soul actually gets here, how the soul actually enters the world, they're not going to tell you directly what that actually means because they don't understand what it means. They're basically regurgitating nonsense that they've heard from other people. But the bottom line is that if you push them far enough, they will eventually admit that a soul needs a body, that a soul does not just enter a body out of nowhere, that it does actually require human reproduction. And if that is true, which it is, then that means that human procreation is the gateway to human existence. That's how human beings enter the material world. Now, they're going to say that you already existed in some other plane, that you just can't remember, you asked to be brought into existence. I've already addressed how this is absolute nonsense, because they can say that about anything. They can say that in some other world, you actually consented to give me your car, you consented to have sex with me, you consented to give me your money. You just can't remember, right? They know what you wanted better than you do. Somehow that you can't remember, but they remember better than you. How does that work? This is a complete fairy tale that they have concocted to justify procreation. I do understand that it comes from Hinduism, but these people don't even know the origins of that nonsense. And many of them claim to be Christian. The bottom line is that you are a gatekeeper. You do have absolute control over it. If you don't procreate, then that specific person does not exist. But when they talk about the soul contract or the soul in general, they are speaking abstractly. What they're not doing is debunking the claim that if they did not procreate, that specific child would not exist without their decision to procreate. That specific body, that specific brain, that specific genetic makeup. No one else could have created that specific child with that exact DNA. So whatever that specific child experiences, their suffering, the fact that they're eventually going to have to die, that is the absolute result of their decision to procreate. And they want to hide behind these narratives. Because what they're saying is that life would continue even if they didn't procreate. It does not debunk the fact that they specifically cause a person to suffer and die. That is completely their fault. You don't get to push a person off a bridge and say, well, people die anyway. No, you caused that specific person to suffer and die. It still is your fault. Now, they will say that you gave pre-birth consent, that you chose this life. Consent has to be Informed, freely given, and verifiable. And the soul contract fails on all three accounts. How could your consent be informed? You don't even exist. You don't have a consciousness. You have no thoughts. A soul without a body has never experienced pain, illness, grief, or death. It has no frame of reference. It cannot know what it is entering. You, as the sentient being who does exist, you know exactly what you're doing. You know that you suffer. You know that you're going to die. You know that your child is going to die. You know that you're bringing your child into a system that is oppressive, that is exploitive. They're going to have to live most of their lives as wage slaves. They're going to be subjected to unjust laws. They're going to be subjected to tyranny of the majority. They did not consent to any of this. Now, they will claim that it's amnesia, that you have an inability to remember your past lives. And they're so confident about this. It's not as if they're saying this as a theory. They're saying as if it's a fact. If you listen to any of these YouTube content creators or whoever these people are, this new age bullshit that they came up with, they have no verifiable proof. It's all based in mysticism, but they believe that it still has merit. Many people will claim that they're not religious, that they don't believe in religion or I don't want to call it a god because I don't know what they think this is. This is some cosmic energy force that recycles matter. They're not going to call it God, but essentially that's what it is. That you exist so that the universe can learn at your expense. The universe can only experience life through you. That you serve a greater purpose. I didn't address the soul contract in my book, but I almost wish that I had. It just didn't fit because my philosophy is about enslavement to the state. But the original version of my book that I didn't publish did address that. At the end of the day, that still is a form of extraction. You still did not consent. You did not consent to be the mechanism for the universe to learn. You didn't consent to suffer and die just so the universe. What do you get out this shit? How is that not slavery? And these people will say that. Let me make sure. Okay, I have several people here. I'll click the link when I'm done. Yes, because I would welcome some pushback so people can actually articulate their position. Now, these people will say that we're gods because they will cite the Bible verse from the book of Psalms, which says that we are gods. Yeah, if we're slaves to existence, how are we gods? If we can't control whether we continue to exist, then we're not gods. We're slaves. You can't be a slave and a god at the same time. If you're a co-creator, if this world exists because you're humans, you're the unique species on a planet that actually has agency, then this whole slave to biology argument that life wants life, this is absolute bullshit. I'm so tired of hearing it. And these people, when they spout this trite, they think they're saying something intelligent. They think it actually makes sense. It does not make sense. You sound very foolish to even present this utter nonsense. I've already talked about the elements of a contract. A contract requires offer, consent, meeting of the minds, consideration. None of these exist. First of all, even if you were to presuppose that we had some consent, that still is not a contract. Where is the fucking consideration? Where is the consideration? What do you get out this bullshit? That you're being a slave to the universe to experience life so that the universe can learn at your expense. What do you get out this shit? You get to suffer and die. The universe benefits from that. Where was the fucking meeting of the minds? Where was that? clearly these people don't know the indicia of a damn contract. They're just making shit up. And if you don't remember, then that's not a meeting of the minds. If I have amnesia about some contract that I entered to, and you can't prove it, then that does not create a valid contract. Maybe you guys need to use some other language, but you don't know what a damn contract is. Now, these people will claim that they believe in free will. They believe that everything that happens for a reason. They claim that they don't believe in force, right? These people claim that they're nonviolent, that they believe in consent. Of course they don't. Of course they do not. First of all, before I even get to procreation, these people don't believe in consent on any level. Many of these people support statism. They support democracy, tyranny of the majority. They support imposing their will in so many iterations. Procreation is just one of these iterations, that they believe in imposing their will onto the human being without their consent. And then they have these post hoc justifications for why it's ethical. They're going to say that you consented. They're going to say that your soul would exist anyway. They're going to talk about how procreation was the most meaningful thing that they ever did in their lives. Extraction, no consent. They imposed their will on you through force so that they could self-actualize at your expense. Now they became better people. Now they have a vested interest in this hellscape. Now they want to be contributing members of society. Now they have an interest in democracy and making the world a better place completely at your expense. And then, of course, they're going to tell you that now that you exist, you also have a duty to make the world a better place, even though you didn't consent to be here. You have a duty to improve democracy, to fight for your damn country, to liberate other beings that are not even a part of your own species, that you should procreate also to liberate other species, not just other species on this planet, but potential species on other damn planets. You ever heard such utter nonsense that, oh, well, if you don't procreate, there could be life forms developing on other planets. So your suffering is completely justified because you could potentially be saving someone on planet Mars. They're going to claim it's this part of a cycle. It's a natural occurrence. It would happen whether you procreate or not. They still can't prove that you would exist, though. They can't say for sure that if you, first of all, we're not even talking about eliminating all life. That's an entirely different debate. Some people do believe that you can eliminate all life. I'm not even taking that position. I'm only talking about the specific child that you created to suffer and die. That person did not have to exist, and that person matters. That individual matters. Whether you can actually eliminate all life forms is completely irrelevant. That specific person who has to suffer and die is doing so unnecessarily just because your selfish ass decided to procreate. And I'm sorry, I know I'm probably offending people. I'm not trying to shame people who already have children. This is for those who don't have children. Yeah, if you're considering procreating, don't do it. It's a cruel imposition. It's an imposition for which you do have power because, of course, you have the ability to procreate. You don't have legitimate authority to do it. The burden of proof is on you. Now, I've been debating a lot of these people on YouTube, and they always ask me to prove that I did not consent, that I don't have an immortal soul. That's not how this works. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The burden of proof is on the person making the claim. A person cannot prove a negative. I can't prove something that's bullshit. Only thing I can say is that there's no evidence for your claim. Now, we know that if you are brought into existence, you are going to suffer and die. That's completely, that's an uncontroverted, stipulated fact. This soul contract bullshit has not been established. This is, just for the sake of argument, let's say that it's possible. I don't think that it is, but arguing though it's possible. Why would you embrace the unverified position that has not been confirmed in any way, shape, or form, that you gave consent and that life would have happened without your participation? That you would have, even if those specific two parents did not procreate, you still would have manifested on some other planet. You just would have been born a rat. You would have been born a fly. You would have been born in some other variation, and your decision to procreate does not change anything. And the bullshit that you consented to it. What about you? What about you, the specific parents, right? Because once you're born, of course, parents decide what is right and wrong. They make decisions on behalf of their children who actually do exist. So hypothetically, if a 2-year-old wanted to stick a fork in a socket, you would tell that 2-year-old not to do it because that is harmful. So why would you defer? If you're not going to defer to a 2-year-old, why would you defer to someone who's even younger than a 2-year-old? Someone who doesn't even exist. Someone who exists outside of time and space. Someone who has not materialized. Someone who has no age. They're not even at the age of 0. They're negative 0. Yet you're going to defer to this pre-infant, this pre-materialized being, if you want to even call it that, this complete utter nonsense, something that does not exist, but you created this damn fairy tale that claims that it does exist in order to justify your decision to enslave this child to existence for your own self-actualization, for your own narcissistic supply, to enslave someone, to force them to serve your ends, to make you happy, to validate your existence, to give your life meaning. Now, I've been trying to go through David Hume. When I read David Hume, that PDF that I was reading from, the reason why it was so long and I was getting so confused because there was repetition, the reason why is because there's some editorializing in that PDF document. So it's very difficult to tell which part of that was actually David Hume and which part of it was the editorializing. And I can't really tell. That's why, like, I was reading, I'm like, I know I read this already. Anyway, I guess I will come back and finish that David Hume. Maybe I should have found him better. So I downloaded off Google, and that was just a bad version of it. So I'll come back to David Hume. But according to Hume, all knowledge comes from experience. If something can't be traced back to experience, it's not knowledge, it's speculation. When David Hume looked for the self, he could not find a fixed soul, just a bundle of changing perceptions. There was no stable identity. There was no permanent essence. What this means is that there was no you that existed before birth to consent to anything. And by the way, this is the same argument that they use, the non-identity problem, to debunk antinatalism, that you didn't exist to consent, therefore consent is irrelevant. As if the fact that you currently exist and you're forced to continue existing while being extracted from against your will because you don't have the right to opt out, these are completely irrelevant facts. The bottom line, according to them, is that you didn't exist, so the only people who were in a position to make that decision were your parents, and they believed that they were doing a good thing. Their intentions were good. So the fact that you have to suffer and die, the fact that you're trapped in your involuntary existence is not their fault. I don't know who you're supposed to blame for it. I get, according to these people, it's your fault. It's your fault because you actually did consent to being born into existence. You just can't remember. You actually asked your parents to bring you into existence. You just forgot. How convenient that you forgot the most consequential thing that you ever consented to, and it's been wiped from your damn memory. I mean, it sounds eerily similar to a grape. I'm trying to use the correct term. A grape. Excuse me. A graper who has his way with someone, and then after the fact he says, "Oh, you consented, you just can't remember." What the fuck? If I can't fucking remember, then there was no fucking consent. Now, let's talk about the motivations for this soul contract. These people procreate because they have a fear of their own annihilation. They think that they can gain immortality through you, through their progeny. They want to extract. They don't care about your suffering. They don't give a fuck about your suffering. The fact that you have to suffer and die, the fact that you have to navigate through this life against your will is completely irrelevant. They got what they wanted out of it. The fact that you have to suffer, oh well, we all have to do it. Get over it. Why don't you stop being so fucking solipsistic? Why don't you focus on helping others? This is the fucking cycle. This is how the cycle repeats itself. Because nobody wants to focus on themselves and their own suffering. And by the way, your suffering, to focus on your suffering does not only benefit you. To be selfish in this way, in a rational way, doesn't only benefit you. It actually benefits other people. Because if you actually focus on your suffering, then you're not going to perpetuate the cycle. But if you have this Pollyanna bias where you forget about your suffering and you just think about how life is so wonderful because you focus on the good instead of the bad, the likelihood is that you're going to procreate and your child will suffer the same way you did. And even if you think that your life is great right now, you still don't know how you're going to die. You still don't know what suffering awaits you down the pipeline. You don't know what way your dying is going to happen. You don't know if it's going to be excruciating pain. You don't know if it's going to be quick. You don't know. And I forget who said this, but I know I read the literature when I was writing my book. Someone made the argument about how, was that Shafran? I don't think it was Shafran. It was somebody else. I read so much shit in a short amount of time. I can't remember everything. I know I read it, but I just can't remember who said it. That if you were to ask people whether they would trade a moment of pure bliss, of pure happiness, of pure joy over a moment of excruciating pain, almost nobody would make that trade-off. Nobody would want to be tortured just so they can experience a moment of bliss. So if your death could possibly be excruciating, agonizing pain, it's not justified. Because they don't want to focus on that. They just want to focus on the fact that they're creating a cute little baby. A cute little baby who's not guaranteed to live any specific duration. Many parents procreate, they get stillborns, they have miscarriages. These babies may die in infancy. They may get brain tumors. And I'm not trying to sound callous because they see themselves as being the victim. Oh, I lost my child. You're not the damn victim. Your child is the victim. Get over yourself. You impose life onto someone knowing that it comes with a death sentence. The fact that your child died is you're not the victim in that scenario. Your child is the damn victim. Stop focusing on yourself. Have some damn empathy for the child who just died. It's not about you. The soul contract does not debunk antinatalism, it actually strengthens it. Souls need bodies. We are the gatekeepers. Your decision to procreate is what brings that human into existence. And the proof of it is the fact that I'm sterilized and I have never had sex with someone of the opposite sex. So where are my damn children? If these human beings would manifest anyway, then I should have about 9 or 10 children, despite the fact that I've never had sex with a woman. So where are my damn children if it doesn't matter whether we procreate or not? These beings are just going to manifest anyway. Now, they will say humans are the most intelligent moral agents. If we stop reproducing, some other species will take over. This is a non sequitur. It doesn't say anything about consent. This is an appeal to necessity. This is basically saying there are other life forms that exist. They're suffering, and so we need to create another suffering being to liberate the other suffering beings, even though that person never consented to liberate these other beings, and in all likelihood will not liberate those beings. In fact, that being that you brought into existence is more likely to cause more suffering to their species and other species. There's only a handful of people who are even attempting to liberate other species, and even I think it's a lost cause. I don't think you're going to liberate other species. I don't know. I don't want to talk about the ethalism stuff or the whole red button scenario. I'm not a proponent of the red button scenario, but even I have to concede that makes more sense than this incrementalist bullshit of, oh, well, at least you're causing less harm than the people who currently exist. At least, I know that you're causing harm, but it's less harm. So if you're going to do a comparative analysis, your harm is more ethical than somebody else's harm. So if you take this incrementalist approach, then you can always say that procreation is justified because you're on the road to progress. You're helping to make suffering better, not for your child, not for your generation, but maybe 1,000 years down the road, life can actually be livable. Maybe 1,000 years down the road, AI will make life so wonderful that people won't have to work. Maybe 1,000 years down the road, people can actually enjoy their lives and not have to be wage slaves, not have to be subjected to state tyranny. But no, we're going to sacrifice you and use you as a means in order to achieve that. Even though we don't know that is even going to happen, we're going to take that gamble at your expense. We're going to induct you into this hellscape, force you to be the means to the end so that you can potentially help to create a future generation 1,000 years down the road that might actually enjoy life. You know, people have been doing this shit forever, since time immemorial. I don't know how long the human species has existed, but every generation believed that the next generation was going to have it better. And yet here we are still suffering. This shit makes no fucking sense. And you know it doesn't make any sense. You know that this is not going to happen. They talk about how, well, they talk about transhumanism, that you're just going to upload your memories into AI or whatever. And now you're going to merge with AI and you're going to be immortal and you're going to be so fucking happy. You're not going to experience any pain, any suffering, and you're not going to die. What the fuck? What the fuck? Did any of us consent to this bullshit? I don't want to be fucking immortal. I don't want immortality. I want this shit to fucking end. I don't want to be fucking reincarnated. I don't believe in reincarnation. I think it's absolute bullshit. And I don't think that you should believe it either. Even if you do believe that's right, you should not be pushing it on others. I think it is very dangerous, especially if you are telling this to children, that death is not the end. Death is the end. When you die, you're not going to come back. You're just going to lay 6 feet under. You are going to be worm food. You're going to help regenerate the planet the same way the animals do. This is another argument that David Hume argued in it. On the immortality of the soul. Again, I'm going to go back and finish reading it. It's just confusing. I think I need to get a better version that doesn't have the editorializing in it, because I couldn't tell which part was David Hume and which part was the commentary. Anyway, humans, I talked about the difference between human suffering and animal suffering. Humans don't just suffer, they don't just suffer, they also anticipate suffering. And so your suffering is compounded because you anticipate the suffering that may happen 10 or 20 years down the road. You actually dread your own death, You remember your past suffering in a way that I think other life forms don't. You're completely traumatized by it. You don't just get over it the same way other life forms do. So I don't know. I mean, I can't tell other people what to believe. You can believe what you want. I just think you should stop pushing it on other people. If that's what you believe, if you believe that's right, you should keep it to yourself. Don't spread it. I mean, that's a fucking cancer. That basically absolves people of responsibility for their actions. It doesn't matter because there's some external force that controls life anyway. So your decision to procreate doesn't matter. You can't prove it. You're going to cause people to fear dying because they think there's something waiting for them on the other side. I can tell you that when my father died, he was terrified of dying. He was terrified of dying because he believed that he was going to die and go to hell. He was clinging on to life with every fiber of his being because he did not want to. He knew, I'm not going to sit up here and badmouth him right now. That's not the subject of this live stream. I tried to comfort him and tell him that when he died, he was just going to die. He didn't believe me. I did talk about Schopenhauer and what that actually means, but he clung to this Christianity bullshit. And because of that, he suffered. Because of that, he didn't want to let go. He was in agonizing, excruciating pain, but he was still clinging on it because he did not want to experience a worse fate. As if that wasn't going to happen anyway. It's not as if you have any control over it. You can cling on to life as much as you want. You're still going to die. And so for all of his clinging, he still ended up dying. And that's what's going to happen to all of us. Now, you can create fantasies about how we're going to come back. You have no proof for it, and you should stop spouting your nonsense. Now, let me go through some of these comments. And while I'm doing this, I am going to post a link so that people can come up if they want to. Just 1 second. I'm going to go through some of these comments, y'all. Okay, here we are. I just posted the link. Well, I just posted it. Yeah, a lot of us do. And the gaslighting is that, I guess I'll be specific. D&W said that we don't need the right to medical assistance in dying because it's already offered in some states. And basically, we should get over ourselves and we should just focus on helping animals. So we should continue suffering because other life forms are suffering. Never mind the fact that they already have the right to be euthanized. Animals have the absolute right to be euthanized. Humans don't have that. Hi, Patsy.
Hey, how you doing, dog?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. I don't know how long I'm gonna stay on here, but I don't know. I kind of came in at the last minute here on the end. I haven't really heard what you were saying good, but we were talking about death, right?
Right, because they claim that they have debunked antinatalism because even if you don't procreate, you're going to manifest in some other way. We're immortal. We're just going to be reincarnated. So even if you don't participate in it, that soul is still just going to materialize in some other way. So antinatalism doesn't do anything. This is what these people believe.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the vast majority, I don't know how, the greatest percentage of people that exist are in denial about death itself. They run from it. And they're trying to cope with it all they can. Okay, the reality of the fact that when you're going to go 6 feet under, or you're going to be cremated, and that's going to be it. Okay, there is no after. There's nothing nothing happens afterwards. And so it's a big cope as far as I'm concerned. You know, one of friends of my best friend just died, and they had a funeral service for him and all that stuff, and the visitation, the funeral, and all that stuff, And my friend was talking to me about it, and I said, "Listen, I don't want to hear any more about it. I just don't want to hear any more about it. To be honest with you, don't even bring it back up to me because I'm sick of people coping and saying, well, they're waiting for heaven and they're going to be in heaven, and all this kind of stuff when the Lord comes back or he's already in heaven, actually, already there, looking down on us. And they have no proof of that whatsoever. And it bothers me to no end that, they're using these delusionary coping mechanisms to not face reality the way it is. And it bothers me. It gets under my skin. I mean, and I'm getting angry now about it. I used to kind of, have a different feeling about it, but now I'm more angry about it than I am anything else. It's like they won't grow up and face reality. That's all.
Right. That's why David Hume's writings are so important because he has already addressed this from a metaphysical standpoint. I'm going to go back to finish David Hume, but I think he has already addressed this conclusively.
But I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people on these YouTube comment sections. These Christians will start. Now, I was a Christian again. I was a Christian for over 40 years. Over 40 years, I was indoctrinated into it. And but just in the past 3 years, I've changed my mind. I've taken a complete turnaround. But it's because I started to critically think about it, and I read what went on in the Old Testament. That this loving God did all these things these atrocities that he did in the Old Testament. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure if he exists, number one. And if he does exist, well, let's just say I hope he doesn't. Because any kind of God like that would do what he did in the Old Testament, I wouldn't want to be around, at all. Much less go to heaven and worship him, but for eternity. So okay, I'm going through a lot of things right now. And, fighting not only with myself, but with other people, other Christians,
So when you were a Christian, I guess I want to compare your fear of death now versus then. did Christianity in any way assuage your fear of dying, or did it make it worse? Like, I mean, now that you're no longer a Christian, do you still have that same fear of dying?
Well, let me just put it to you this way. According to what I read in the Bible, not only do you have to know you're going to be there, okay, be assured that you're going to be there, be able to be rewarded to go after you become a Christian. You still got to carry your
And what
cross
about hell?
and keep repeating. Wait a minute, now let me finish. You got to keep repenting and keep asking for forgiveness over and over again, because you're going to keep sinning. Okay, you're not perfect. You're never going to not sin. So you got to always got to pray and ask for forgiveness. And so if you actually do get there, then after you get there, if you are accepted in there, there's going to be a day of judgment, a day of accounting. You have to stand there before God and give an accounting of what you did with your life. The sins of omission and the sins of commission, the things you did wrong and the things you didn't do right. You have to be scrutinized again. So, why are you saved the first time and you have to give an accounting later? When you get there, that makes no sense to me. So anyway, so to answer your question, no, I always had apprehension, even when I was so-called saved. I always had some apprehension in my brain as to whether, am I really saved? Will I really get there? That kind of thing. So that answers the question, I guess.
Right. I did want to comment on that, but I guess I'll ask Pastor D if he had anything to say.
Yeah, well, what about hell? I mean, doesn't Jesus say that the gate to salvation is narrow, but the path of destruction is wide?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's numerous passages in the Bible that say you're not going to heaven, even as good as you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not even talk about the fact that Christianity is, 28% of the world's population's religions. We've got Islam, we have Buddhism, we have Hinduism, we have shamanism. So how do you know you're hooking your wagon to the right train?
Right, and every person is indoctrinated in according to what their parents, okay, were
Right.
indoctrinated into. Okay,
Exactly.
so if you're a Muslim, you're gonna be indoctrinated into the Muslim thing,
Right.
or Mormon or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that's what it's gonna be. So it's a mess, man. Is what it is, and it's just a lot of apprehension, a lot of questioning, even after you think you're saved. You on your deathbed, you're still thinking, well, I'm gonna be there or not.
Yeah. Religion, I think, is the worst poison that man has ever.
It just screw with your mind big time, just like, And then even after right now, like I'm in the position I'm in right now, like doubting and, and thought I'm kind of turned away, you still have these things in the back of your brain that still echo back there to haunt you,
Yep.
It's miserable, man.
It's child abuse. It really is, to teach kids religion. If you really think about it, it's child abuse.
Yep. And
especially if you drill on the concept of hell.
And the thing
What
is,
the hell did I do?
Yeah, and they say, the thing is, we got to make sure everybody knows about Jesus. Everybody knows about God. Everybody knows about Jesus. That's our mission. And I tell you what, the people that don't know about him have more of a chance of getting there than the people that do.
Yeah. Amen, sister.
As long as you know God, you heard of him, all you have to do is just heard his name and heard what he came to do, or whatever. Then if you haven't heard it, you might have a chance of having some kind of grace or something, get up there to the heaven. So it doesn't make any sense. It's a mess, and I don't know. Sometimes I got an angry day today. I was angry about it today. Angry. So
yeah, I don't know what Charleston's like, but when I lived in Greenville, now when I first moved to Greenville, it was a much smaller town, but there was a Southern Baptist church on every corner.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how do they all survive? I mean, literally.
Sorry, go ahead. I just want to read this Bible verse. 1 John 2nd 1 John 2, verse 16. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life comes not from the Father, but from the world. So all this clinging to life, all this fear of dying, and that you have to gain immortality through your progeny, all that shit is a sin. And I don't know how Christians got this so ass backwards to where they're not focusing on their so-called spiritual life, their eternal life with God. When I was a Christian, that's how I thought. I didn't care about this world. But these Christians are so vested in this fleshly material world, they can't let go. They're more afraid of dying than anybody else. When I was a Christian, I did not fear dying. I did not fear death because I thought I was going to die and go to heaven, at least when I was younger, right? And of course, when I did become, when I got older, I sort of, I felt that I was Christian because I wasn't doing anything. I was not engaging in sex or doing anything sinful overtly, but I still could not control my thoughts. And so I was focused on that whole Bible verse about how it is better to gouge your eye out than to burn in hell. So even if you have the thoughts, but you didn't act on it, it still is the same as committing the act. So I basically felt that there was no way to not sin if you are in the flesh. And so I don't know. I did feel that I was going to have to live a miserable life in order to avoid going to hell. Like I still was Christian, but I was resentful of it. Like I was angry that I couldn't enjoy life because I didn't want to die and go to hell. And then I did come to a realization that it was complete nonsense. It's not that it's nonsense. It's the way, that they're taking it literally. The Bible itself is not nonsense, but their interpretation is nonsense. They believe that this literally happened, that Jesus literally came and died for our sins. If you don't obey God, you're going to die and go to hell for the rest of eternity.
Yeah.
And so when I came into the Gnostic version, it's like that made more sense. This is not literal.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't the belief in Christianity make you resent your parents even more? Because they risked your soul?
Mm-hmm.
You think about it.
I don't know. I think my father just brainwashed me so thoroughly. He overemphasized honor thy mother, thy father. Like he basically made me feel like I had to obey my parents no matter what. Even as an adult, I always felt guilty for disobeying them because of the way that he conditioned me. So a lot of people will say, oh, you're an adult, you can do whatever you want. No, because of the way I was conditioned, I didn't feel that I could just disobey my parents, or like a lot of bad decisions that I made wasn't because I wanted to, it's because I was listening to them. And people will say, oh, take responsibility, it's your fault. No. At the end of the day, if they raise you, this is like the creator is always responsible for the creation. I did eventually come out of that conditioning, but it took years for me to deprogram myself.
I'm glad you said that. The creator is always the responsible one for the creation. Exactly right. And I'm telling you why. I was just thinking that while you were talking. There's no way that you can win at this. It's a setup. Okay? Because according to that Bible, God gave you free will. But he created you with the free will to maybe have an inclination to do bad things. Okay? He could have created you without the inclination to do bad things. But he didn't. That's the setup. There's the setup.
How do you have free will when you had no choice in being on this planet to start with?
Well, that's the beginning. Yeah, that's even further back. Yeah, that's even the beginning. Yeah. I mean, he had no consent to be here. And then when he created you, he gave you free will that to where you didn't have a choice as to whether you would, and not have the option of doing bad,
And
in other words,
themselves.
in heaven, I wonder if there's free will because, hey, if there's free will in heaven, then either he has erased your brain and your ability to have any kind of sin come up in heaven, okay? Or there's not free will, and what? There's no free will and you're a robot. You know,
They're
I don't
contradicting
know.
themselves because they're saying that we have free will, but they have no free will when it comes to procreation. That's predetermined. They're acting according to the will of God. They have a duty to procreate. They have no free will, and yet you're supposed to have free will. When you are you exist because of their free will. They impose their will onto you, and now I don't believe in free will.
I don't either.
Except when it comes to procreation, because everything that happens after that is completely out of your hands. It's like a gazelle going to drink from the water. I mean, it's like you could have chose one spot or the other spot, right? But you chose the wrong spot and you got snatched up by the alligator. That's not free will. That's choosing one bad option over another. It's like you're driving to work, you get snatched up by a road pirate, and now you have to give them your money. And it's like, this is what life is. It's like trying to navigate between one bad option and another bad option. It's just, and of course they say it's all your fault because you didn't choose the best option out of a bunch of bad options. You did the best you could with limited information because your parents had even raised you properly. You didn't know the decisions you made when you were younger. You were just doing the best you could, and now they're going to say it's completely your fault.
Yeah, they always say it's your fault. It's always on you, okay? Instead of the creator. Instead of the creator. Okay? Like, I'm just going to get back to God again. God could have done anything he wanted to do. The way he created the world. He could have done unimaginable ways that he could have done it. But he chose this way. Okay? And that's what I say. They say everybody say, every Christian will say it's your fault that you didn't follow Christ, or your fault that so and so. You know, it's always on you. You didn't do enough. You didn't study enough. You didn't pray enough. You didn't ask to find. You didn't ask for him to encounter you or come to you or whatever. You know, it's always on you. You know, and I don't know. I'm just in one of those days today. I'm just.
Well, but these people are not all Christian, though. There's like a new age version of it where these people don't believe in religion at all. They claim to not believe in God, but they still believe in a soul contract where you ask to be brought into existence, but you just can't remember.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's another, just ludicrous stuff like that. They'll pull it out of their hat or something, and it makes zero sense. The whole thing.
And it takes all the responsibility away from the parents making the decision for you, and it puts it on you once again.
Right. Of
The
course.
soul contract thing, yeah, that they can't prove.
Goes right back. It's always your fault.
Yep.
And
it is productive because every time I present these arguments, they want to get into mysticism and metaphysics. And for whatever reason, if I talk about the ethics of procreation, they can't get past the fact that I asked to be brought here and I just can't remember, or some other nonsense about how my soul is the way that I don't know, the eternal consciousness learns through me. This utter nonsense. And I think this conversation needs to be had. And I guarantee that once this live stream is done, I'm going to have a whole bunch of views because all of these soul contract proponents are going to come in my comment section responding to it. The last time I did a discussion about the soul contract, I got a whole bunch of views. So I guarantee there's going to be a lot of people interested in this discussion.
Well, it's kind of like, actually think about the God situation and think about the parent situation. Same thing. God didn't have to create humans. God did not have to create a human being. Why did he create him? Because he was lonely, right? They say he was lonely. Okay? Same situation with the parents and child. The parent does it for themselves. The parent has that child for themselves. The parents. They're not doing it for the kid. They're doing it for them. And the kid, or the human in this respect with God, has to take the accountability, has to take the rap, let's just say, for being brought into the world. Both instances, God instance and parent instance. Same thing.
Kaya, I don't know if you listened to the beginning of this live stream. What I was saying is that they're trying to use mysticism to debunk antinatalism. I was saying that it's not based in science. They have no verifiable proof. I don't believe in a soul contract. I believe it's utter nonsense. I'm just saying that it's not an excuse to procreate. They believe it, so it has to be addressed because that is their justification for procreating. If we ignore it, then these people get to continue procreating without being checked.
Are you talking to me or to
No,
Galactic?
Gaia. I posted his comment on the screen so you guys can see it.
Yeah, I don't
He's
know.
telling me, he's basically saying that this live stream the topic is nonsense because it's not as if we believe it. We're not the ones saying it. They're the ones saying it. We're just responding to their arguments. If one of these proponents of the soul contract mythology wants to come up here and actually push back on it, they're welcome to do that, but I don't think they will.
Here's another question. Why would God create this world where everything eats and shits each other out over and over and over and over again? I mean, it is a really bad design. And I'm not talking about the vegan thing. Don't worry about that because I'm not a vegan. I'm just saying that to survive, you've got to eat things and excrete them and eat them and excrete them. And it's just a never ending battle.
It's disgusting in all respects.
It really is. The whole design is just brutal.
Think about it. You're eating human beings right now because you're eating from the dirt, right?
Yeah, right. No,
From the dirt, you are eating human beings as we speak. Any kind of food you eat, vegetables. Okay.
I don't think that this is a departure from Christianity. Christianity itself is based on cannibalism. It's about sacrificing a human being.
Yeah.
And these Catholics have these rituals where they pretend that they're eating Jesus' flesh, which is what that carrot, the
wafer. Yeah.
represents. And then they're drinking his blood. So that's cannibalism. And so everything else, even if you look in the Old Testament, it's based on sacrifice, sacrificing animals. God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son. And they will try to justify it to say that this isn't evil. Of course it's evil.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I was a little girl, I hated that idea of the fact of sacrificing an animal to sacrifice an innocent animal. Okay.
Yeah.
To say I'm sorry for what I did wrong or whatever. I'm sorry for doing something wrong that you said it was wrong, that you created the rule that it was wrong, and I'm gonna sacrifice an animal to say I'm sorry because I did it.
Right, and specifically that whole story of Cain versus Abel. Abel wanted to give them vegetables or whatever plant-based food, and Cain gave it was the other way around. Cain is the one who gave the plant-based sacrifice, and Abel was who gave the animal sacrifice. So Cain was evil, and Abel was good because he actually obeyed God. So it's just so perverse. Everything about the Old Testament is just completely sadistic.
Yeah. And I remember when I studied that as a little girl about the Cain and Abel and the different things they brought, I thought, oh man, I like what Cain brought. I'm on his side. I'd have brought the vegetable too, That's what I'd have brought. Not the animal, the dead animal with blood coming out of it, So anyway.
No, you have to slaughter it and put the blood on the altar and barbecue it and yummy.
Yeah. And then we had the thing, Isaac and Jacob, Abraham and Isaac. I mean, we're talking sick, okay? I mean, we're talking real sick-minded people. You know, the idea that you would even entertain. I mean, yeah, God stopped him at the very end, supposedly, and said, "No, don't do that." Well, very idea that he would have done it, went ahead with it if he hadn't have said stop. Okay, I mean, think about that. There's people like that who
Yeah.
would do that, I guess. But you know what? If you ask the average Christian today, would you sacrifice your child if God stepped down here right now and said, "Go take Sarah, Jim, or whatever, Jimmy, or whatever, and go put him on that burner and start frying him up"? Would you do it? How many would you say? How many do you think would say yes?
I think they have already sacrificed their children. They sacrificed their children to the state. They brought them to existence in order to serve their own needs. So I mean, it's not like an actual slaughter, but they know their child is going to die at some point. So I think they've already sacrificed their children.
So maybe they would do it. Maybe they would carry through with that.
I think they're that selfish. They would.
But
Have you ever heard a parent say, I brought you in the world, I can take you out of the world?
yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I know my sister. I don't think she would do it. And she's a Christian, full-blown Christian. You know, she's been a Christian longer than I have. She's 10 years older than me. And I don't think she'd do it. As much as she loves her kids, she would say to me, "Well, God wouldn't make me do that."
That's, well, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Well, okay, well, he made Abraham do it. Did you believe the story or not? Do you believe the story? You think it happened? Do you believe the Bible?
They don't read it though. They don't. I mean, it's not as if they actually understand it. They just go to church, put on their funny little hats, sing some songs, and then come home. They don't understand anything about the Bible.
Yeah.
Because if they did, they would start asking questions. They know it doesn't make sense, but I guess they just listen to their pastor. The pastor's going to rationalize it. If anybody knows it doesn't make sense, it's their damn pastor. The pastor knows because anybody who's actually studied it and read it from start to finish knows it doesn't make sense. They know it. They know it, but they're going to spew lies to their congregation and dominate them with it because, well, I was actually just talking to a young guy who's actually in Bible school right now, and we had a very interesting conversation. I mean, it wasn't that interesting because I've already come out of Christianity, but he found it very interesting to think the questions that I was asking, the Bible references that I pointed out, it made him think. And I know if I were to push him even further, I probably could talk him out of Christianity. I don't think that I should do that because it gives him, I guess it gives him a will to live. That's something he's looking forward to. I don't think I should take that away from him, but I know I could do it if I wanted to.
Well, you know, I don't know how I'm making it then because, you know, I guess I don't have a will to live, but I'm making it. I don't know. But because I was in, just like I was saying, I was in it for over 40 years, 45 years. That's a long time.
What denomination were you raised in?
Church of Christ, which is very similar to Baptist.
Right.
The only difference in the Church of Christ and Baptist is that the Church of Christ believes in baptism for the remission of your sins in order to get forgiveness of your sins. And the Baptists, they believe in you do it as you're asking for forgiveness, and the Baptists do it after they repent, after they've confessed. They do it later, the baptism.
Okay.
And they don't take communion every Sunday, Baptist. The Church of Christ does, you know. I mean, there's little idiosyncrasies that's different about it, you know. But my mother was Church of Christ and my father was Baptist. And they were constantly at each other, okay?
Yeah, right.
They wouldn't go to church together. Our family was broken up, okay? And that's another thing that bothered me.
That's what religion does.
That's another thing that bothered me later on. I said, you know, I was like, well, did Daddy make it to heaven when he died, or did Mama make it to heaven when she died? I mean, or did neither one of them make it? You know, it's mind-boggling. It screws with your mind, and you know what? Once you're indoctrinated, it continues to screw with your mind.
Let me,
Still screwed.
Susie Berry, I agree with you. It is just as natural for women to have multiple sexual partners as it is for men. I talked about that before, that monogamy and marriage is a social construct. It was mainly created to protect the man's property, so that he would know that his heirs were his actual biological lineage. And so that's the reason why, so that they don't want women to be promiscuous, so that so there's certainty about who gets the property. That's the main reason why. But outside of that, I don't. I mean, I don't believe in slut shaming. I believe that everybody has a right to enjoy sex, whether they are men or women. I don't care about that. I don't care about body counts. I think you should use protection for yourself and for others. But other than that, I really don't judge people based on that. So I think women should be promiscuous if that's what they want to do.
Have you studied the laws that used to be on the books in different states in this country back in the 1800s and 1700s? Women had no rights. There were laws on the books in New York City. Now, they don't practice them anymore, but a man could die and will his children, even if the wife survived, to some other family. Women had no property rights. Women had no, they couldn't, it was just ridiculous.
Right. And so that's why they procreated. That was how they ensured their survival. If they had children, if they got
Right.
married, then that protected them in some way. But outside of that, if you were just a spinster with no children, if you were unmarried, then you basically were at the mercy of the men in your family. Maybe somebody would take you in or something, but you were completely vulnerable if you didn't get married.
Yeah, that's true.
But just like we said before, y'all. I mean, the reason people are procreating, a lot of people are, is because the Bible said to do it. Okay.
Be fruitful and multiply.
So that's where it all started, and then it just it was a damn wrecking ball from that point forward.
I just wanted to point out there was one exception where women could own property. The only property women couldn't own were their slaves. So that woman's slave that she brought into the marriage, that was her separate property. So if she ever divorced her husband, she got to keep her slaves. And under English common law, like, those women had dowry. So their fathers would actually pay the man to marry their daughter. So a lot of times that woman actually came into that relationship with more wealth than the man, but it wasn't hers. It was her husband's wealth to manage. So it's like you're basically submitting to someone who has less wealth than you.
Well, the Bible does say from foreign nations you may get your male and female slaves and bequeath them to your children. They are your property.
Beat them nearly to death.
Yeah, right. As long as they get up in a day or two, you're not to be punished.
Get up the next day just so they can get up and get
Yeah.
beat and get beat again. Okay. Rape women that had nothing, that did nothing wrong.
Yeah,
Kill infants
right.
that did nothing wrong. Totally annihilate population and animals that did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't understand a Christian mind. Even though I was one for over 40 years, I can't even understand my mind.
I think religion is the worst thing ever invented. And
How did I let this happen to me? How did I fall for that?
well, what happened to the souls before Jesus? There are a lot more souls before Jesus than after Jesus.
Yeah,
Well,
what about
maybe.
that? That's a good question. I thought about that a long time ago too. Yeah. What about before Jesus came?
Well, they have to make animal sacrifices.
But I thought the only way through salvation was through Jesus.
Right.
Well, I guess Jesus is the ultimate animal sacrifice. It's the sacrifice that basically eliminates the need for other sacrifices. I assume that there were some people who went to heaven. I mean, I assume that Abraham and Noah and all of the the so-called good Christians, or not Christians, but the good Jews of the Old Testament probably went to heaven. So I don't know. The Bible, this makes no sense. It's so contradictory.
If they existed. If they existed,
yeah.
Moses, Abraham, all those. I mean, David, if they even existed, you have no proof of it.
I was listening to a seminar by Bart D. Ehrman. He's he has his PhD in New Testament. He's no longer a Christian, but he said, think about it. Look at these genealogies that are in 2 of the New Testaments. I forget which 2, and they don't match. But also, could you, even with our modern day lineages, the best we could trace our families back are maybe 10 generations, maybe. And they're tracing them back 44, 50 generations. There's no way. All they're trying to do is force the lineage of the kings, the King Solomon and David and all those people into Jesus' bloodline.
Yeah,
but think about it.
Yeah.
Could you trace your family back 40 generations? No.
I want to respond to Gaia's comment. So you're worried about AI babies being born too because antinatalism is already winning. You're confusing me, LA. No. There may be declining birth rates, but it's not declining nearly fast enough.
It's not. It's not antinatalism.
Takes over, then there won't be a need for the workforce. But there's still going to be a bunch of humans who will exist who will not have any work, and they're going to be completely dependent on a universal basic income. So in the meantime, there are people still procreating. There are people right now, even within the vegan community, who have 3 children, and they're getting on YouTube justifying it, saying procreating was the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. So clearly they don't. If what you're saying is true, there would not be so much pushback every time we talk about antinatalism. Why did I go on that one panel and I have to argue against 10 people? Well, I guess 9, because that's the most you can have up there, about antinatalism. They all thought that I was wrong. So clearly they don't believe in antinatalism. They're telling me that procreation is a natural right, that that is morally justified. If what you're saying was true, then there would be no need for antinatalism, because they would not be procreating. Now, it may be true about child-free. There are more people who are choosing to become child-free for lifestyle changes or whatever. They want to keep their resources for themselves. That's a completely separate argument from antinatalism. They want to conserve their resources so they can go shopping, go out to nice restaurants, live their best lives. We're saying that it's unethical. There are very few antinatalists in the world. We don't have Gaia. I mean, if you want to come up, I can post a link, but I don't think that antinatalists feel that way. We don't feel that we're winning at all. In fact, we would say that antinatalism is actually becoming less relevant than it was when David Benatar first wrote his book. That first it was this whole there was this energy into antinatalism. I think they've already heard the arguments. People already know it now, and they just debunk it because, well, they think they have debunked it because of the non-identity problem. And they find all these excuses to continue procreating, which is why I'm doing this live stream. Because one of the excuses is that we have these immortal souls who consented to be brought into existence. Okay, well, all I hear is a lot of deflection towards antinatalism. I don't want to talk about that, because again, every time I talk about veganism, people just get emotional and triggered. I just, at the end of the day, if you didn't consent to exist, address the root problem, address the fact that humans who exist have to eat. so that if you don't bring them to existence, they don't have to consume anything. Instead of bringing them to existence, forcing them to deny themselves, to live a restricted diet, to take a bunch of supplements, to be miserable, to take B12 and watch, get lab testing to make sure they're getting their proper nutrition. I just think that's just, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I don't think veganism is the only way to liberate animals. You can actually liberate animals by not procreating. That actually addresses the root cause. Your consumption is a downstream problem. So if you cared about animals, then you wouldn't procreate.
And let's just say you were a vegan and you procreated. The average American, or I should say Western person, the amount of carbon they emit and the amount of forest they deforest, I mean, just to sustain the population, the growth, we have to deforest an area the size of South Carolina every year to sustain the 70 million people that net are brought.
You're in North Carolina, aren't you?
No, I was in South Carolina. I'm no longer. I'm in Florida.
You came down here.
Gosh, I haven't been there in 10 years.
You'd be surprised. This place is Charleston, which is where I can go ahead and say I'm from Charleston. Charleston don't even look like Charleston anymore.
Yeah, I haven't been to Charleston in maybe
On the outskirts,
18 years.
on the outskirts, all you see are condos and apartments.
Right. Well, it's everybody's moving down there.
All you see is more housing. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Raping the land, cutting down trees, they're not even building more roads,
Right.
more infrastructure. They're just building more houses for people to come on in. Come on in, the water's fine,
Right. No, they all come up from up north.
Cut down all the damn trees and take the wildlife's home away from them. Okay.
Yep.
I moved down here in 2009, and the landscape has dramatically changed. I mean, just dramatically, and it's just disgusting. I don't even like where I live anymore. It's just,
Yeah.
But
Well, when I lived in Greenville for 24 years, and I was moved to Greenville for a job in 1987, and that town was it was a mill town that had gone dark. A lot of the mills closed and moved to Mexico or China, and it was just, the downtown was completely dilapidated. I mean, it was really bad. But apparently it's become a little tech hub. So, yeah, Greenville's come a long way. But I liked it when it was kind of smaller and not so sophisticated.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely like that better. Cozier, quaint.
Cozier, right.
Quaint, cozy, warm feeling. I mean, I don't know. It's just gone. The character is just gone.
Everything's commercial and cafes and outside.
People.
Tons of people. Oh my God.
I hate going in Costco. I just left there this afternoon. I mean, I couldn't wait to get out of there. The people was crawling in there. Like, I don't know. I don't think I'm much of a people person, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, I just like my little clique of people, and that's it. I enjoy talking to people I want to talk to, but I don't like big crowds. I don't like a lot of people. And there's too many people in this world. There's too many people.
Well, Patsy, you should come to my church.
I should come to your church, and I should meet you too, incidentally. But anyway, maybe
Yes.
Maybe we'll get to do that one day.
Yeah, but this whole design, and I'm getting back to this whole design, and again, I'm not making a vegan, non-vegan judgment. Like I said, I'm not a vegan, but just the fact that I have to kill and eat animals, and everybody does it, it's not just humans.
Yeah.
It's just a gross design.
Well, even the insects are eating other insects,
Right. I mean, it's it's pernation all the way down.
There's stuff going down under that ground you wouldn't even know about, you know?
Right, there's not a single herbivore on the planet. All animals are opportunistic omnivores. The deer, the horses,
Yeah.
the cows,
Mm.
birds. There's not a single natural omnivore or herbivore on the planet. So
Right.
for them to arbitrarily say that humans are the only species on the planet that has to go entirely plant-based, it just doesn't make sense. If you can point to me, I've already had a challenge where I offered $1,000 for someone to find one pure herbivore on the planet. Nobody was able to do it. It does not exist. So therefore, I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about veganism because they get so triggered. I just think it's anti-intellectual. You can't have a debate about veganism because they just get so emotionally riled up about the animals. And I'm just like, but it doesn't make sense. You're blaming people for existing when I didn't choose to exist. I didn't choose to be a damn omnivore. I would rather not exist, and that is how I would liberate animals. Stop creating the consumers in the first place instead of creating them and telling them to go against their nature.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. You're indoctrinated into what you're gonna eat too. I mean, your mom and dad put your hamburger in front of you, okay, when you were a kid,
Right.
and fried, okay. I mean, that's what they put in front of you. And what are you supposed to do now? Stop doing it? So yeah.
Hey, LA, tell them, complain to the manufacturer.
Right. The creator is always responsible for the creation. If you create a damn omnivore, then don't complain about the omnivore acting according to its nature.
There you go. I agree with that. The creator is always the one responsible. Can we get that through our heads?
Yep.
Creator is always the ultimate responsibility is with the creator. Okay.
And that's creator of this planet and the creator of our parents.
Like the damn weed, the root of the weed, the root is the problem. Not the weed that came up, the root. Which is
that's it.
Or the creator, which is God. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I just want to respond to a couple of comments. Why is it only a select few people can see what the world really is about and the rest are asleep? It's because they're not, these people, they want to punch down. They don't want to fight up there because they're cowards. So what they're looking for is how they can extract. They're never going to be at the top. So nobody wants to be at the very bottom. And nobody will be at the very bottom if they procreate, because you can always have a child to subjugate. So people are always looking down instead of looking up. They don't care about their own oppression so long as they can oppress somebody else. Now let me read this other comment. Sounds like a deflection towards your book. If you haven't explained persistent verbally, then why would the audience trust your ability to communicate through text? This is the neurotypical view. Because I have already explained it. I've done several live streams talking about my position on veganism. And every time they bring it up, they act as if I haven't addressed it. So instead of me having to repeat myself, because when I do topics that have nothing to do with veganism, they still bring up that issue. And so instead of me having to repeat myself, I'm going to say, go read my book. So I don't have to keep repeating myself and actually deflect. You're saying I'm deflecting. No, that's not even the subject of this topic. My philosophy is about human liberation, which tangentially liberates animals. And so if we don't exist, then we don't harm animals. So if you have another viewpoint, then that's fine. But that's not my philosophy. I'm here to promote my philosophy, which is life abolitionism. Don't force humans to exist. And if you don't force humans to exist, then we don't harm animals. I made my book available for free. I made my book available for free several times. And
you read it online.
I have literally been spoon feeding it to people. For people who say, oh, I don't read, I read it online. I actually made another version. I made a Cliff Notes version of it. For those who don't want to read the 400-page version, I condensed it down to about 50 pages, and people still won't read it. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I have done everything in my power to make it as accessible as possible. It's not my fault. If I've read it online, if I made it available for free, it's not my fault. I don't know what I don't know what to tell you. What else can I do for you? I mean, unless I can handcuff you to a chair and force you to read it or listen to me, I can't do anything else. Well, your poverty is irrelevant because I made it available for free. So I don't know what to tell you. And I've read it for free. So my readings of it are still available online. I made an entire playlist of that. So you don't have to pay for anything. Wrong, without humans, animals got no chance. Right. So okay, I'm not even going to go there. I don't understand what that means. You're complaining about humans harming animals, but you want more humans to exist who are necessarily going to harm animals. I don't.
You know, we talked about this too. It's not just food; it's cosmetics, it's medicine that we test on animals. It's all kinds of shit is made from animal products that's not food.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Tested. They test things on animals.
Yeah,
Dangerous.
usually until they die. Yeah, that's torture.
Yeah. In cages. It sticks some kind of shit on them. Okay.
Yep.
They don't think safe or not. Just see if they're gonna die or not.
Yep.
For your ass. Okay.
The whole medicine field is just plated with dead animals.
Yeah. The more I think
So are
about it,
cosmetics.
I'm just fuming over here, man.
Boy, Passy, I bet you're a pistol in South Carolina because it's so conservative there.
Well, the thing is, I really haven't talked to anybody about this but y'all.
Oh, okay.
And there's a select, maybe one or two other people, but no, I haven't really been broadcasting how I feel about this because I know it's useless. It's just everybody's so NPC-ish. They're not
Yeah,
gonna.
it's sad.
The other problem is that when you divulge your personal information, it's like you want to be human, you want to relate to people on a human level, but people will weaponize that because what happens is you're sharing all of your personal stories, and then they're not sharing theirs. They're actually listening and trying to. They're going to make your story fodder for their channels. They don't have any content of their own. And if you talk about your personal hardships, your relationship with your family, how you have suffered, they're actually getting sadistic pleasure out of it. There are people who are not anti-natalists, but they're in this space trying to extract from the community without contributing anything. So I think at this point, it's probably best to not share anything that you don't want to be fodder for somebody else's channel. They will clip it. They will take it out of context. They will report you to them FBI.
Oh yeah,
ridiculous.
Amandum has gone through horrible stuff. They accused him of being a pedophile, and he's had the police show up at his house. Do you ever come across this guy named Yerf Dogs?
I don't even bring him up, but for whatever, people will bring him up, and then if I respond, oh, LA is talking about me, so now this is my opportunity to say everything that I want to say. I'm so fucking tired of that piece of shit. He has taken my photo from my book. I made my photo black and white for a reason, and then because I didn't want people to take it and use it for other purposes, he colorized it. He has plastered all over his channel. He's made all these lies up about me. He can't. When you go through his channel, when you go through all of his posts, it's always a response to somebody else. It's always him talking shit about somebody else. He has no content. It's like he has no original thoughts. He actually is taking an exception that he's not being included in this whole effort to decriminalize medical assistance dying because he's the attorney. He's the attorney who lives in Japan, who practiced in Australia, apparently. He thinks that he should be the expert we should consult him on this issue, even though he doesn't live in the United States. So he's a whole Karen who's weaponizing the state to inflict violence against me, yet he wants to whine and boozy pop about me saying that if he were to say this shit to my face, his teeth would be on the ground. Mind you, I can't actually do it because he lives in fucking Japan. So this is not a credible threat in any way, shape, or form. But what he did was an actual credible threat. He reported me to the fucking FBI, a fucking false report about something that was taken completely out of context. I never said I was actually going to do anything. I was talking about options on how I can not exist anymore. This is the reason why you need to be careful. This is not a safe space. You think that you can just talk among your supporters, we can support each other? No, there's a bunch of parasites in the midst looking for content, and they're not here to support you. They're here to talk shit.
Man.
And I actually have proof, though. I don't want to make this a Europe Dogs bitch session, but I did want to show something. I was going to address this separately, but I guess this guy is such an absolute piece of shit. I just want to prove what I've been saying this entire fucking time. 1 second, y'all.
I don't know why I just can't leave you alone. That's all.
Because he's a fucking narcissist. He can't fucking let it go. You know what narcissists do? They always project. If you call them a narcissist, they do this. I know you are, but what am I? So if you call them a narcissist, they're going to say that you're a narcissist. I already told you what I am. I'm fucking schizoid. So he's going to tell me that I can't self-diagnose, but he gets to diagnose because he thinks that he's fucking God. He's a fucking colonizer who not only thinks that he has the authority to represent his country, which is Australia, which is anyway, and he lives in fucking Japan, but he wants to dictate what happens in the United States. So not only does my own country, my own state does not represent my interests, he thinks that it should represent his interests, even though he doesn't even live in this damn country or live in my state. He does not pay taxes, but he thinks this whole system exists to serve him. This is an entire colonizer. This is a globalist who thinks that he can use my own system against me. So clearly he doesn't believe in democracy. It's not supposed to represent the will of the people, the American people. It represents him because he's a global citizen. Now let me show y'all this bullshit that he wrote. I'm not even going to talk. He talks about me engaging. I tried to ignore him. I really did, but he keeps making all these posts about me, and people keep coming to my channel telling me about it. I was going to ignore him, but then he made that FBI report. This is proof that he's here to extract. Antinatalism. He made this short video called what is it called? It's called Antinatalism is a Mess. So he's not an antinatalist, but he still wants to talk shit from the sidelines. Antinatalism could have evolved into an interesting and compelling subject. Let's just start with the first sentence. Why is antinatalism supposed to be interesting and compelling? I told y'all this shit. Y'all thought that I was making it up when I said that he was a spectator looking for entertainment, that he's not actually trying to contribute. He wants endless debates. This proves exactly what I said. Antinatalism could have evolved into an interesting and compelling subject. So he wasn't here to contribute. He wants endless debates. That's why when I said my father disinherited me, he didn't want to engage with it on an emotional level and be supportive. He wanted to debate the veracity of my claims as if that is what was important. If I proved to him my story, that is what was important, not the fact that I got disinherited and fucked up by my father. It could have been something worth encouraging real life mates to explore. Right. So this is a zoo exhibit. He would have brought more people to observe the crazy antinatalists in their natural habitat, complaining about their involuntary existence. He wanted to extract and exploit us for his own amusement. And if we would have been more interesting, we would have been worth being exploited. Instead, it ended up devolving into pro-pedo, pro-femicide, pro-terrorism, anti-intellectual, bad faith, animal supremacy, AI slop. I wouldn't dare insult my family, friends, and colleagues by exposing them to any of it. I think your family insulted us by bringing you to existence. Now we're stuck dealing with an asshole who goes around stalking people, an asshole who has no purpose for being here other than to antagonize people and to extract, to be a fucking parasite. Special thanks to, and then he tags all these other people, etc., for your concerted efforts in dumbing AN down and ensuring it becomes less interesting. Let that sink in. We have made anti-nazism become less interesting. So we're fodder for his fucking entertainment. Ensuring it becomes less interesting and more insufferable to those of us who read and have IQs higher than a floor. So we have made anti-nazism less interesting and have dumbed it down. Our suffering, talking about our real hardships, has made anti-nazism insufferable because he was not here to listen to our personal stories. I regret even dealing with him in the first place. When I was on his channel, we had a discussion. I said, you don't have to be an attorney. You don't have to be a philosopher to be an anti-nihilist. I think that anybody can be an anti-nihilist because you have a stake in your own suffering. I think if you want to write a coloring book about anti-nihilism, then your story matters just like everybody else's. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be a David Benatar. And he disagrees with me. You basically need to be an intellectual in order to articulate anti-nihilism. Your story needs to be interesting. You need to be fodder for his fucking debate. This is why I will not go on DW's channel and debate him. He wants me to do it because he wants to extract, he wants content for his struggle channel. My channel, but mind you, he's been on YouTube for 4+ years. And he's struggling. I lost my channel and I got it back. And now my channel is growing. He sees that I am on the incline. His channel is on the decline. And he wants to ride my coattails. Anyway, I went on a whole tangent about Europe dogs. And I know he's getting off on it. He wants to be relevant. And I just gave him his moment of shine. And I know he's going to be making content about it. So I gave him his fucking wish. This is fucking stalker. He's not going to leave me alone because he's run out of content talking about amendment. He said everything he could possibly say about amendment. His entire channel was about amendment, and now I am fresh meat. Now I have new content that he can talk about, so he can ride. He can be a fucking parasite, a fucking bottom-feeding bitch, and make content at my expense. Weaponize whatever suffering I've talked about and use that for his own personal entertainment. This guy has no fucking empathy. I can't say that for sure that he's a narcissist. By the way, he's saying that I am projecting it on him. He's already admitted to having narcissistic traits. He definitely is Cluster B. I can't say for sure that it's narcissism. He definitely has he doesn't have empathy. Now, it's not like I know it because I don't know him personally. I just know that based on my interactions with him, he doesn't have any empathy. It could actually be something worse. He could actually be a fucking sociopath. I don't fucking know. He's on the fucking spectrum. He is definitely Cluster B. Right. But this is what I said. His name was brought up, and now I responded to it. And now people are going to say, oh, I'm talking about him again. I didn't even really want to talk about him, but it's like, do I actually have things to say about him? Yes, I have plenty of things to say about him. He's fucking annoying as fuck. He's going to contact.
No, I brought him up because I was on D&W's channel, and D&W is rude as hell to me now. I don't have anything against D&W. Anyways, he spotted me in the comments, and he said, well, are you still listening to Amendum and Amanda? I said, yeah, I like Amendum. He goes, well, then you support child sexual assault. I said, how? How? And he couldn't tell me, but he said that I was a pedophile because I listened to Amendum. I said, I've never heard Amendum mention anything about pedophilia. But, because I listen to Amendum, I am by default also a pedophile. It's like, are you kidding me? But he just wouldn't let it go. I was just like, dude, where do you even get this shit?
Yeah, he is
Anyways,
a stalker. Let me show y'all this other one. Okay, is this up right now? I don't know. My screen is very micro. No, you can't see it. Let me try one more time. He took my photo from my book and look at this shit. The photo was in black and white, so he completely edited it to make it in color. He's been making constant posts about me, lying about me. He said something about, he basically resents the fact that I'm getting support because he's the attorney and everybody should be deferring to him on the right to medical assistance. And he's not even an anti-natalist, by the way. So and he's not a pro-mortalist. I mean, I'm a elected pro-mortalist. So I never said I want to take people out against their consent. I think that people who don't want to exist should have the right to no longer exist. I'm trying to find the one where he was basically talking shit about how he should be the one being deferred to on. Anyway. Oh, here, maybe this is it. This is it right here. There's been a push over the years within the anti-natalist, let me just read his word, ANO sphere for unregulated and decriminalized access to assisted deliving AS, assuming this is meant to be understood as literally what is being sought rather than a rhetorical device of expressing an extreme position to anchor a negotiable pivot, which is what I said already. So he's basically using my position. That's what I'm doing. That's the whole purpose of life abolitionism. I'm taking an extreme position in order to make a negotiable pivot. It's a reckless and selfish mindset showing complete disregard for others, right? So we're being selfish because we don't want to exist against our will. For example, consent is tricky when it comes to the old or infirm who are particularly vulnerable as they may see themselves or may be easily persuaded to see themselves as unnecessary or unwanted burdens. Unregulated access wouldn't have safeguards in place to determine if someone is freely consenting or being coerced by exacerbated carers, or future beneficiaries. The waters become murkier when someone's cognitive faculties are on the decline. So basically, we all should be forced to exist because some elderly person might be vulnerable. It's not as if they're giving it the right to those who are actually competent, who are not vulnerable. They don't want the right for anybody. So he's gaslighting us. But and let me finish this because this is not very long. But I want you to read. I want you to hear the part where he's basically lamenting the fact that he has not been consulted. The state has the power to draft legislation that directly or incidentally makes it more difficult to access medical care, e.g., raising prices, making it difficult to assure banning it outright. The state has the power. Notice that he uses the word power, not legitimate authority. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the state has the power authority to force you to exist against your will. So he believes might makes right. This makes it easier to present AS. I hate acronyms, whatever the fuck that means. AS as a best course of action, perhaps compounded by coercion from family who don't want to be stuck with the bills, when in fact, what actually happened was access to other options becoming more burdensome than access to AS. The state also has the resources to act covertly to nudge the societal zeitgeist in the direction of believing AS is an inherent good for the nation. So clearly you don't support our rights yet. Anyway, this is conceivable in populations with upside down pyramids and pensions being stretched beyond what's available. The impression I get is such advocacy extends to minors being able to access AS without parental or guardian involvement. Nobody has ever said that. I clearly did not say that. He's lying. He's trying to say that my philosophy is dangerous because it would be accessible to minors. I never fucking said that. And that I've already proposed legislation. Nothing about it says anything about minors. Where was I? Unregulated access would open the doors for unscrupulous vendors to target kids and convince them that bullying, failed exams. Again, he's talking about me. He's talking about me because he's alleging that I failed the bar exam, even though he doesn't even know that. Breakups, etc. The normal vicissitudes of youth warrant assing yourself. The bottom line is that you are the one who should decide whether your quality of life is worth living. It's not the state who should decide. He doesn't think that allegedly failing a bar exam, not having the right to earn a livelihood, and being relegated to a life of poverty is not a proper justification for no longer existing. I say that it is, and it's my life, which is the whole question that I examine in my book. It's my life. I'm the one who gets to decide. Imagine a kid on social media getting piled on by people or AI. So walks down the local AS vendor. Maybe the kid doesn't have the funds, but the vendor knows it's possible to sue the parents after the fact. Again, he's talking about my philosophy. What about the 8-year-old who didn't get what he wanted for Christmas? Should this kind of situation be regulated against or not? No, it should not. Well, for the child, it should be regulated. For an adult, it should not. What about parents who find their kids too burdensome to look after, perhaps because they don't like them, or maybe they're an incompetent parent, or maybe the kid has a disability? What about the situations where parents remarry and step-parents decide they want the new family to only be biological kids, so they pressure on the parent with the kid to take them to AS? What about people in abusive and coercive relationships who can be more easily convinced to feel worthless enough to take that course of action if readily and freely available? Okay. What if by doing that, people leave their kids alive to be cared for by the abusive parent? Or will there be package deals where parents can have their kids be AS with them? These are just examples I came up with in 5 minutes, which tells me the ones advocating for unregulated AS haven't spent more than 5 minutes thinking these things through. I have thought them through, which is why I wrote a very carefully worded initiative petition. Because I haven't explained it to you. You want to be God. You want to dictate what happens in my country. If you want, let me finish this. Let me finish this because I have so much to say. Or perhaps they have, and they just don't care because all they're agitating for is satisfying their own individual wants, and to hell with everyone else. Exactly, to hell with us. Society has already said to hell with us. We have to exist whether we want to or not. The society is going to extract from us. To hell with us, and yet they think that we should care about them. No. If you don't want to exist, you should not be forced to exist. You should not be extracted from for society's benefit. I reckon people should be able to exercise autonomy as freely as possible without compromising guardrails against abuses as far as is practicable. Drafting such regulations is an extraordinarily difficult task requiring expert care and attention. People agitating for unregulated access are stifling constructive progress with their all or nothing approach. They're making it easy to preemptively dismiss the issue as the domain of the crazy and unhinged. So basically, he's upset that I have a fiscal sponsor to help me advocate against the criminalization of medical assistance in dying. He wants to be consulted. He wants to be brought into the fold, even though he does not even live in the United States. This has nothing to do with him. It's none of his fucking business. He's so concerned, yet he's supposed to believe in democracy. He's supposed to believe in the will of the people. This is what I'm saying. Democracy is a smokescreen. It's based on manufactured consent, where a tiny minority, the powerful elite, such as himself, they impose their will on us. They lie and use propaganda to force us to agree with them. And then they make it seem as if it came from us when it actually came from them. So he, as the fucking attorney, should be consulted Never mind the fact that it's our lives and we should actually have a say about whether we want to exist or not. No, it should be up to your dogs to say whether our reasons to exist are compelling or not compelling. And he basically wants to get in here and fuck it all up. Moreover, I'm sorry, Patsy got dropped down. I'm going to finish. I'm going to wrap this up. Moreover, this is not something that he initiated before. It's not as if this is his pet project that he had a passion for. No, nobody was even talking about this. And now that I brought it up, now all of a sudden he thinks that he should have a stake in this, in a country in which he does not even reside in. He's against everything that I wrote up in my book. He never even talked about the right to medical assistance in dying. But again, he's a bottom-feeding bitch who wants to ride my fucking coattail and make content for himself. He doesn't give a fuck about any of us. Anytime you talk about your suffering, he's going to use that for content for his struggle channel. And so his channel used to be about Amanda Nanos, about me. I guarantee he has endless content to talk about me. My photo is on his channel everywhere. My doctored photo, which is not even the original photo, I think it's stalking. I think it's harassment. I think you're using my likeness without my consent. And he's just an unethical piece of shit. So I mean, if you're not an anti-natalist, why would you expect an anti-natalist to sponsor you? You don't even live in our country. You're not an anti-natalist. You don't even really support the right to die. I don't understand why you think that you're entitled to funding for something that you don't even support. Because DNW said that we already have the right. The only thing I want to do is put my name on it. No, that's what he wants to do. I don't give a shit about putting my name on it. I would actually prefer to spend my time on something else. I would actually prefer to spend my time on making money, on improving my quality of life. But at the end of the day, nobody else is fucking doing it. There's all these other organizations that have taken a position that those who are terminally ill should have the right to opt out. None of them are advocating for people who are not terminally ill. Not a single organization is advocating for that. So
that's true.
We're not supposed to have any representation at all. That's just why you have to look at my philosophy comprehensively. Like, I start with the original imposition of life. I talk about the state, democracy. It's not represented. They don't give a fuck about what we want. It's tyranny of the majority. The majority is against it, and they're going to impose their will on us. They're going to force us to exist whether we want to or not. They don't give a fuck about what we want. And so I'm going to expose them. I'm going to force them to take a yes or no vote on whether we actually own our lives and whether we should have the right to opt out. And they're going to say no. And what they're going to be admitting, based on my wording of it, they're going to be admitting that they're forcing us to exist against our will, and they don't give a fuck about consent. And then, so it's not going to be passed the first time around, but then we're going to revisit it again, and we're going to word it differently, and we're eventually going to get it passed. So this is going to take years to accomplish. I have a very strategic plan on getting it done. And once I raise even more money, I'm going to be able to do everything that I've been trying to do, everything I've been talking about. See, the difference between him and me is that I'm an activist. He's not. He's never gone to a single protest. He's never organized. He's never had a fucking nonprofit. He's never done shit. All he's done is being a fucking parasitic attorney, extracting, charging fucking $500,000 an hour based on the state's monopoly over the practice of law. He's not an activist. So the fact that you're an attorney does not make you qualified to take on this issue. You're going to take the safest, the most sterile position possible. You're not even going to move the fucking needle. You're going to work within the system and try to get them. You're going to make concessions unnecessarily before we even get to the point of making concessions. No, I'm going to make the extreme demand and then force the state to compromise after the fact. Like you said, it's going to be a pivot. I'm going to start out with the extreme demand, and then eventually we're going to compromise somewhere in the middle, but I'm not going to start out making concessions. Why would I do that? Power concedes nothing without a fucking demand. You don't understand the way politics works. You may be an attorney. You are no fucking activist. You should not be consulted on shit. You are fucking pussy. You're a coward. You're a feckless status who reports people from the comfort of fucking Japan who will not engage in a fair fight. A fair fight is hand-to-hand combat where you get to hit me and I get to hit you. But no, you're a fucking pussy who weaponizes the state to fucking fight your damn battles. And I don't fucking respect you at all. You're a bitch.
Hey, LA, where does he get all this child sexual assault stuff? He's like fetishizes it.
I don't want to get into it, but it's not completely unfounded. He did make some older content basically saying that guys, people, I'm not bashing. I have
no, but he accused Amanda Sutnick of it. He accused Gary of it. He accused.
No,
go ahead.
No, he made an older video basically saying that he's against the creation of new what is the term? CSAM, whatever. But he's
CSA, yeah.
Right. But the older content that already exists should be available because these people have a need, and basically that causes less harm because they can get their needs met without harming anybody else. This is like an older video, which is probably like 20 years. I don't know how long. It's very old. I don't know if he's revisited that position, but basically everybody else is guilty by association. So because
right,
and all these other people associated with them, they're all guilty. And he's okay. So that part is founded, but the other part, he's taken creative license to say that because he believes that older content should be available, he's basically saying that he's actively harming minors, that he has actually molested children, and he's actually promoting molesting children. So that's where he starts making shit up.
And he actually says that about Amanda and Amanda?
Not Amanda. Amanda is guilty by association because
so am I.
Because she's friends with him. But
right.
He said, I mean, I think you should probably I think he took a lot of his content down because I said that Amanda should actually have his channel taken down for, copyright strikes. And so I think he took a lot of that content down. But so I don't know if you're going to be able to get he takes a lot of shit out of context. Amanda said something about how he saw some younger girls. He never even specified the age of the girls. They could have been 18 for all we know. But he found them attractive, and I guess they had some interactions where he said hello to them or whatever. And so basically, he made it seem like Amanda was a predator, and that he was
God.
Yeah, so it's complete hyperbole, complete fabrication and exaggerations of things that didn't even actually happen. The only part that did actually happen is that he said that the older content should be available to those who want it. I've already said I disagree with that. I've done content about it on my older channel, saying that I disagree with it. I think it's a predation that even if it is older content, you should not be exploited that way. If I had content about me being abused as a child, I would not want some horny pervert
watching it. Yeah.
So I don't know that Amanda still feels this way. I don't know. It has nothing to do with me. But this is the reach of. This is how far it extends. Not only are you guilty by associating with Amanda, you're guilty by associating with other people who associate with Amanda. So because I associate with other athletes, I'm also guilty by association, even though I've never had any direct interaction with Amanda or Amanda. I'm guilty just because there are other athletes on YouTube who I've done content with. This is what D&W was doing when he came on my channel, trolling, said that I'm a dangerous man because I did a panel discussion with another ethicist. I'm guilty by association for everything that they advocate for.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It
is ridiculous. The whole thing is, and I've listened to just about all of Gary's stuff. I heard him say once that, young people are attractive. That's just the way it is. Doesn't mean I would ever act on it. And I agree with him. That's the way nature made it. That's why we're the most fertile, unfortunately, when we're that age.
And I don't think that 18 is some magic number. I mean, this is an arbitrary number that the state created. I mean, I'm a gay man. I'm not attracted to younger. I'm anybody who's younger. I prefer somebody who's, I don't know. You're 18. I don't find you attractive at all. Whatever. You basically need to look like a man in order for me to find you even remotely desirable. But I understand that heterosexual men they think a little bit differently. They prefer younger women. They want women who. Anyway, I have critiques about heterosexuality because I do think that they want a woman who's young and virginal.
Of course, because they're more fertile. They can pop out more babies.
No, I think it's actually worse than that. I think it's because they want to be predators. They want the fun of taking the woman's virginity and ruining her. Because a lot of times they don't even want to be in a relationship with her. It's just, I took her virginity, I ruined her, and then they want bragging rights. So this is what they do. I'm not saying that all men do this, but I'm just saying that they get something out of ruining a younger girl more than a woman who is sexually experienced. Like, you're not going to marry her. You just want to take her virginity and say that you fucking ruined her. Like, and basically stamp her as being yours, and stick her with a fucking baby to raise. Like,
there you go. Yeah.
Like, that's my critique against it. But at the end of the day, I've talked to a lot of straight men. Most of them will admit that they prefer younger women. And when they see some little high schoolers, they can't really tell whether she's 16 or 18. They just find them attractive. They know the law says that it's wrong to have sex with a 16-year-old, but if they could, they probably would do it. The Mormons don't care about age. They will have sex with underage girls and marry them. A lot of those girls will get emancipated just so they can get married. And it's like, you are most fertile when you are in your teens, when you are 15, 16. So at the end of the day, you do have a natural biological drive to be attracted to younger women. I'm not going to defend it because I'm not a heterosexual. I don't relate to it at all. But it's been explained to me that men, at the end of the day, society may say that it's wrong, but your dick doesn't lie. Your dick tells you what makes you hard. You know that when you see that woman that you find her attractive. I think
that was the point that Gary was making, is like, just because I find him attractive doesn't mean I would do anything with him. And I think that's where it's gotten taken way out of context.
That's the claim that he's trying to make. He's trying to say that because he's attracted to younger girls or whatever, that he has actually acted on it. And that's the part that he cannot substantiate. That's where I push back to say, there is no proof. Show us the fucking evidence that he has actually done anything to harm anyone underage.
Right.
Shut the fuck up. He has no fucking evidence. He's made.
And then he was coming after me because I like what Gary has to say for the most part. And now I'm a supporter of CSMA or child sexual assault, something like that. It's just like, this guy, he's just not, he had everybody in the room after him. He was just so unbased, so unreasonable. No, and he was claiming Amanda was too.
No, he's not saying that Amanda did anything. He
didn't. But he says that we all support child sexual assault material.
Right. Right, and before, when I was on the outside looking in, I used to listen to it. I thought his content had merit, but now from as an outsider again, I see exactly what it is. These are smear campaigns. Basically, he's starving for attention. He wants Amendum to debate him because Amendum has declined. He's going to get his narcissistic supply one way or the other. Either you're going to give it to him freely or he's going to take it. So he's going to make content at your expense. He has no original thoughts of his own, and he gets off on this shit. None of his content are he has no original content about antinatalism. He's a
No, I've seen him on DNW's channel. You know, the little label you put below your name, like I'm Pastor D. He put Yerfy Dog, pro-natalist. It's like, oh God, really?
And the crazy part is that they're saying that I'm so fucking dangerous and that everybody should stay away from me. And yet DNW wants me to go back on his channel. I just had somebody comment just the other day saying, would you please go back on his channel and you know, it was so much fun when you were. I'm not going back on that fucking channel. Why would I do that?
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. They gang up on you. They don't listen to what you want, what you have to say. They dismiss you as depressive or angry, and it's just
and then
what you got. And they can't understand that some people have a rough time in this life.
Right, and then take a clip out of context from that fucking channel and report it to the fucking FBI. That clip that he reported me for happened on DNW's channel as a response to something that was said. And I'm like, okay, well, at least if I'm on my channel, I don't get trapped. I don't end up saying things that are going to get me in trouble because I control the narrative. When I'm on their channel, they will ask questions and then you slip and you say something you shouldn't have said.
Right.
You want to bounce on it. It's just so funny. It could be a fucking 10, 12-hour live stream. He will listen to every word, find whatever clip he needs. He takes so much time piecing together all these fucking clips of shit that I said, shit that other people said. Mm-hmm. You can't possibly have a life when you're fucking doing that shit.
Well, I think he fancies himself, and I don't mind him. I don't have any problems with him. I think he's a little bit harsh to some of his guests. And then you let some of his guests go on forever and they say absolutely nothing. But I think he's trying to make a profession out of this. And I just don't think it's working for him.
Well, it was working for him for a while. It was working for him when I was there, and people were actually enthusiastic about going to his channel when we had those spirited debates. But now his channel has lost its fucking fizzle.
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen the viewership go down as fast in my life as when you left. LA.
Yeah.
I mean, we got 12 people viewing, I mean,
Right.
You used to have like 50 people viewing at a time,
The crazy guru was just asking, when is he coming back? I'm not fucking going back.
Oh, that's another thing. I don't like him either. That crazy good. The one I see is DNW channel was nothing but sensationalism. That's it.
That's pretty much it.
I mean, just that guru too. Okay, those shouting matches sounds like a circus in there. I mean, that's just sensationalism. And, in LA, you were the one that gave him the sensationalism stuff part. He was feeding off of you to get the sensationalism part.
Right. He had endless clips about me. It's like, I mean, he wanted me to debate vegan games. I was at fucking work, and he's telling me to come on and debate vegan games. Why? So I should lose my job to debate vegan games so you can have views on your fucking channel. Why would I fucking do that? Am I getting paid for this shit? Pure extraction. He did not even fucking interview me about my book like he said he would. There was this whole disagreement because he wanted, I wanted to have either a pre-recorded interview or, basically a closed panel with just him and Danny Shine. He wanted to be an open panel where I would be harassed by Europe dogs. And I'm like, why? You're trying to force me to be harassed. I'm telling you, I don't want to deal with him. And so no, I'm not signing up for that shit.
That's laughable. That's laughable.
You have a stalker who you're trying to get away from, and he's trying to force that interaction anyway, so that he can have views for his
right. Exactly.
And then when I fucking explode on him, oh, LA is so fucking crazy. I can't believe LA said that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're angry and dangerous.
Yeah. And then you post these things, these separate posts online, specifically geared toward you, LA.
Oh, yeah.
Just specifically to you and LA, blah, 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 long during posts, just, I don't know, just don't ever go back on there again. Will you promise me you won't ever do that again?
No, I'm not going back. Let me read.
Don't ever go back on there again.
Well, he attacks people to support you.
I heard him. He's attacking you, Pastor.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he came at me hard.
I happened to go on there just to see who was on there, one day.
Yeah.
I came in on him just coming down on you, man. I said, what?
Yes.
Is he coming down on Pastor D for,
No, I'm just an innocent little pastor.
I see he's coming down on him for some reason. I mean, just trying to sensationalize Pastor D,
He's probably a Catholic.
I don't know. Steer clear of that, okay? Just steer clear of it.
Yeah, I know, but Danielle and I like to cut up about our fictitious kids. She enjoys that.
Well, there was so much drama, and I spent so much time on there. I actually put off a lot of my own personal shit that I should be dealing with because I would spend hours and hours on his fucking channel. I'm just, what did I get out of that? I mean, it's such a complete waste of time. I should be growing my own fucking channel instead of being on somebody else's channel. I should be actually advocating for people to get made in the United States. Like I said, it was a complete waste of time. It helped me to strengthen my argument so that I could write my book because now I understand the position. I don't think there's anything else I can get out of that. It's become so repetitive to where I'm having the same debate over and over with different people, but they're saying the same shit. Mm-hmm. So it's like I listen to them because I'm trying not to be rude, but I already know what you're going to say because you're saying the same shit that 10 other people already said. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Have you ever gone back on D&W's old stuff?
Yeah, I remember it.
When he was a anti-natalist and he was passionate about it, it's like he's done a 180. I just don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had Danny Shine on Antinatalism Day like 5 years ago.
Let me read this. He says, D&W, I don't know, D&W claimed he will do an interview with you, was yesterday, I think. So now, see, this is what I'm saying. So he wants to start from me, use me to get him views, to debate all these fucking people. He kept putting off installing, never doing the fuck. What do you call this? Future facing. This is what, I'm sorry. I know that the word narcissism is overly used, but sometimes you just recognize it. It is what it is. You recognize when people don't have empathy. You recognize their behavior, and this is future faking. When they don't want to reciprocate, they just want to extract. Future faking is when you make promises, you never keep it. You keep saying it's going to happen in the future. You give them this false hope, and that's what he fucking did to me. Oh yeah. I'll do it. I'll get to it. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. You have already extracted from me. You owe me a fucking interview. But at this point, I'm not actually interested in it because I think it's just going to be a fucking hit piece. It's going to be a hit piece where he gets fucking Yerp Dog to do his fucking dirty work, where they sexualize this shit, try to portray me as being fucking crazy. I'm not no, I don't trust you at this point. I want to be interviewed by a fucking anti-natalist. How about that? How about I would rather be interviewed by Danny Shine or someone who's actually in the community who is actually trying to do something with it.
Yeah, I can see all getting together and going at you together.
Oh yeah. Yep.
They've done it before. I mean,
Oh, yeah, they have.
I've seen it plenty of times. But no,
They don't want to listen to it.
no more. No more.
Okay, so I have another person confirming that he said that he wants to interview me. I don't. It's just like why did they have to come to this? Why do they have to get so fucking ugly? When you already shitted on my book, that it was a piece of shit, that it was solipsistic, that you didn't even fucking read it. You didn't even read it, yet you already shitted on it, and yet I'm supposed to let you interview me. You're not objective. You're not objective. You're just going to talk shit. So I don't trust you at this point. I don't. I think I need to find a better interviewer, somebody who has some fucking objectivity.
LA, are you on the antinatalism subreddit?
Yeah, I just posted on that. I just posted in the group last night.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because you could probably find some people there to either come on your channel or interview you or vice versa.
Okay. Oh well, what's his name? Objective Actors is supposed to be interviewing me on Sunday, and like I said, I did write a Cliff Notes version of it, so that's the version that he got. For those who thought, I think that if you get the Cliff Notes version, you're getting a lot of the details about, especially the legal analysis, the details about how capitalism works. I don't know. I mean, but some people have very short attention spans, so they don't want to read the whole book. But I did try to make it accessible, and I
listened to it online. It was fine. It was a little legalistic for my understanding, but that's just my understanding. I don't have a legal mind, legal training.
It's not entirely legalistic. The only part that's legalistic is the fact that the state owns you. The state is prohibiting your right to die. The state does not have legitimate authority to do that. The rest of it, okay, capitalism is sort of, that's more economic. I do have 2 chapters on antinatalism. Well, chapter 10 is about antinatalism. There's activism because the chapter 11 is tying it all together, coming up with strategies for how to actually decriminalize medical assistance in dying. And then I talk about the public complicity. I'll talk about democracy. So it's political, it's legal, philosophical, it's economic. It has a base in activism. So there's a lot there to unpack. I think it may have been a little bit, I don't know, ambitious to try to combine all that shit in one book. But if you just focus on one chapter at a time, it's that's the reason why I did those live streams. So if people had questions, they could ask me questions and I could answer them for them. But I didn't get a lot of questions. So that's the reason why I need more interviews, so that I can answer people's questions.
But it's just so weird, so crazy. Going back to the basics of this thing, that you pay to exist. You pay taxes. You pay taxes on the food you eat. You pay into the
water you drink.
You pay into the damn system, okay? Every day.
Yeah.
And you don't have the right to leave.
Well, that's the whole part. That's the whole purpose. The thesis of my book, Whose Life Is It? It's not yours. It's you exist for society's benefit, for your parents' benefit, and the state's benefit. You're the one who has to pay all the damn costs. So it's not your life, because you don't even have the right to opt out.
Right.
Let me ask you this, Pastor D. Did you understand the disposal rights test, that whoever controls disposal is the true owner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then if you understand the disposal rights test, that's the most important part that you should take away from the book. I understand it was overly legalistic, but
well, that's the way you were trained, and I was not trained as a legal person, so I understand why it gets a little more technical. But I guess my point is that I tried to exit twice with pills, and I woke up the next morning in a hospital against my will, with charcoal injected in me and barfing and shitting charcoal. And then I had to, against my will, go to a psych ward for 10 days and a bunch of BS exposed there. And then I got a $30,000 bill. It was just ridiculous. The whole thing was just a sham.
Right,
And
but they want to gaslight you and say it's so easy. If you don't want to exist, you can just opt out and nobody's stopping you.
no, you can't, and they will. This is a story, so I'm not sure how true it is, but when I was in the hospital, there was a nurse there. She was in for something, self-deletion, self-harm. She said she was in an OR room and a guy took a gun, put it to his side of his head, pulled the trigger, but he yanked away at the last minute and just got the top part of his brain. And they spent countless hours operating on him, bringing him back to life, and now he's a vegetable. Now, do you think?
Fucking evil.
Yeah. Do you think he had his intent pretty well stated with the gun to the side of his head?
They don't. They don't give a shit about your free will. You don't have any.
No.
They're going to force you to exist no matter what. They would rather have you in a vegetative state. At the very least, I don't know what extraction you can get from somebody who's a vegetable, but I don't know, maybe get some kind of SSI, and maybe his caretaker can get money out that. I don't know, but if there's some type of extraction going on, they're going to find it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how productive you are to society. They will find a way to extract from you.
Yep. And they did for me both times. First bill was like $15,000 to go into the psych ward. The second bill was like $30,000. It's just crazy. And these people didn't know what they were doing. They were social workers, extracting for a job.
Well, they think they're doing a good deed. They think that
they do.
All is worth preserving, no matter how bad your quality of life is. They've been indoctrinated with this sanctity of life bullshit. They believe that death is the worst thing ever. Not only do they believe that death is the worst thing ever, they believe that not existing is the worst thing ever. So not being brought into existence is a harm also. They believe that life, no matter how bad it is always worth preserving. These people have never been challenged. And I don't know. That's why I wrote that book. I don't know. Maybe I should have made it a little bit. You know what? I made the book to say the things that nobody else was saying. The only thing I regret not putting in this book because I didn't find out until after the fact, I didn't know that the American Medical Association is the institution responsible for lobbying to criminalize medical assisted dying. That is a glaring omission that I wish I would have put in there. I think it would have changed the quality of the book demonstrably, but unfortunately, you don't know what you don't know. I try to make it as comprehensive as possible, but
you mentioned it later. You did. Also about abortion.
Right. It's so fucking disgusting. So the whole so-called state interest was never a legitimate state interest in the first place. It was always about the American Medical Association's interest in having more patients and extracting in order to generate profits for practitioners.
Yep.
And I need to find the amicus curiae from the Glucksberg decision, because they wrote an amicus brief for that case. And I need to find it to see what their arguments were. And when I do find, it's not available. I went to Pacer. It's not available there. So I do have a way to get it, but it's probably going to cost me. I
have a question for you. No, wait. If you take these logical arguments, and in my mind, they're rock solid. There's just no debating it. If you take it through the court system, can't the courts refuse to hear some cases?
Right.
And they'll just say, we're not going to hear it.
Right. Okay. That was chapter 4 of my book.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say.
That's why it's so important for me to put all this stuff together. It's all these procedural mechanisms. They will claim that you don't have standing. The reason you don't have standing is because the state hasn't actually enforced the law yet against you. But if you do it, and the state institutionalized you, now it's moot because now you're out, and then if you sue them for damages, they're protected with qualified immunity. If you sue a judge, the judge has judicial immunity, which is absolute. Prosecutors have absolute immunity. And so even though these laws exist on the book, they're completely unenforceable. You don't have any rights because you can't actually sue the state and have them enforced. The only there's limited exceptions where you can sue based on qualified immunity. It has to be clearly established law, a clearly established right that has been established through case law. And if it's not through case law, then they can do whatever they want. And it has to be the exact factual circumstances as a prior case. So I don't. Oh gosh, I don't. I know people get bored when I talk about the law, but if you
how much can you abstract from Jack Kevorkian's case and when they prosecuted him? Can you learn something from that from a legal standpoint?
I can talk about that. He was acquitted the first time through jury nullification, but then the second time they did convict him. I believe he spent about 8 years in prison.
Right.
I can talk about that. Like I need to do a little bit more research. But the case I wanted to point to was Lawrence v. Texas, where they were trying to, they had all these sodomy laws, criminalizing homosexuality.
Yes.
And basically, in order to get standing, you have to actually be prosecuted for it. So what happened was they had these two gay guys who were in their house having sex, and then one of them called the police so the police could come and find them in the sexual act, and then they were prosecuted. And because they now had standing, now they could actually overturn that law. So you have to go through all this fucking rigmarole to have standing. By the way, there's nothing in the fucking Constitution that says anything about standing. There's nothing in the Constitution that says anything about the political doctrine. Read chapter 4 of my book because I talk about all that stuff. This is shit that the courts have completely concocted. The only requirement to bring a case is that there has to be a case or controversy, which means there has to be an actual justiciable controversy for the court to decide. But all of these other issues, standing came about because somebody tried to challenge the IRS to say that the federal income tax was illegitimate, that they wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve, and so they create standing. These are concoctions from the fucking Supreme Court. There is nothing from the legislature. There's nothing in the fucking Constitution, and nobody knows the origins of these doctrines, where they came from. I don't know. I guess my book may have been too legalistic, but I don't think the entire book is legalistic. There's only probably chapters 1 and 2 are legalistic. The rest of it is philosophical, economics, and political. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what I don't know. So if people think that I should explain things, and I don't know what they don't understand.
Right. Yes, that's fair. That's fair. You know that guy in India that threatened to sue his parents for giving birth to him?
No, he did sue him. He eventually dismissed it because the judge threatened to, I guess, sanction him for following it. But yeah, he did sue his parents, and he's on. Oh. He's on. Is it Reddit or is it? Yeah, I think he's on Reddit.
Yeah, he's on YouTube as well. Yeah. Do you think a case like that could ever go to court, or would they just refuse to hear it all the way, through the whole system?
They would dismiss it. They would dismiss it the same way that happened in India, but the same thing would happen in the United States. This is what David Minotaur has been arguing, that wrongful life has not been extended to apply to parents. It only applies against doctors who are negligent, against patients who had birth defects. There's a difference between wrongful life and what is the other term? I forget. I've talked about this on my channel, but basically wrongful life has not been applied to children who don't want to exist. It's only been applied to doctors who are negligent, and also to children who have been disabled, to force the parents to care for their children even when they are adults. So other than those limited circumstances, you can't sue your parents just for bringing to existence, even though you should be able to. David Benatar has written, I went over that also, the article that he wrote about wrongful life, because he wrote before he even wrote Better Never to Have Been, he published several articles about medical ethics, about how parents should be held liable for procreation. And eventually, I guess he came into the term antinatalism, and he wrote a whole book about it. So those articles, he wrote articles way before he wrote Better Never to Have Been.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. I just know Human Predicament and Better Never to Have Been.
Right, and then there were other articles that he borrowed from, like Sheffrin and Parsons, the non-identity problem. So I actually went back to those primary sources, and I tried to talk about. I even cited some of them in my book. So I think it's helpful to understand these arguments and where they came from, the origins of it, because they're still using the non-identity problem to debunk antinatalism. The non-identity problem never had anything to do with antinatalism. It was about environmental ethics, that if you harm the environment, that the person who doesn't exist does not have an interest in the environment because they don't exist. That was the original non-identity problem. Now they have taken that argument and applied it to antinatalism or to procreation. To say that because you don't exist, then you can't be harmed by being brought into existence, it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why Europe Dogs is no longer an antinatalist, by the way, because of the non-identity problem.
Yeah, I know. You can't consent.
David Benatar already addressed that in his book. So if you read his book and if you actually understood the argument, then you should have never been an antinatalist in the first place, because you would not have accepted his argument. So it's fucking bullshit to say, oh, these antinatalists are so fucking stupid. You can't be harmed by being brought to. Of course you can.
Of course you can. Life is harmful. The whole structure of life is harmful. Just look, open your eyes. I mean, when you go to the meat counter, you should maybe, get on the truck that delivered that meat and go back to the slaughterhouse. And I'm not making any vegan, non-vegan, because I told you I'm not a vegan, but just the fact that we have to eat other things, even if they're plants. You don't know if those plants are sentient or not. As far as we know, they're not, but they could be.
Let me respond to this comment. What I ask myself, want to know is, how much does LA love to hear himself talk? Actually, I don't love hearing myself talk. I actually wasn't planning on doing a live stream, but they asked me to do a live stream. I was actually busy, and they so at the end of the day, people want me to talk about antinatalism, and so that's why I do it, because I think it's important. Do I love hearing myself talk? No. But for whatever reason, I'm the only one making these arguments and actually countering the bullshit that is being posited in this space. So I don't love hearing myself talk. I actually am an introvert. I don't enjoy talking. I do it just because I think it's necessary and because I'm not making any money out of this. So I don't enjoy listening to myself talk, if that answers your question. In fact, I posted the link so that other people can talk and I can listen to them talk, but very few people actually click the link. So it actually would be nice for other people to come up so I don't have to talk.
How many people are in the room right now?
17.
Wow.
So if you would like to talk, you can click the link and then we can listen to you talk and then I can stop talking.
There you go.
But I don't get it. I mean,
in my personal life, I never shut up about it.
I don't understand. You have a YouTube channel because people want you to talk. So I don't know how you can do a live stream without talking. That's why everybody's here, to listen to me talk. But it's not just about me. I invite other people so they can talk too.
Yeah, I'm an out of the closet antinatalist. I have lots of books about it. I have the wheel I just made, the wheel of misery. Um, I have bumper stickers in the back of my car. I don't think people know what it means, but I think they do know every cradle is a grave. I think they kind of get the idea behind that one. But it's time we come out of the closet, because every day I see all these women with their babies. I just think, oh, those poor kids. They're going to have to go through educational slavery, then wage slavery, then old age and falling apart, and depression, and it's just so much shit that can happen to you in a lifetime. And when I was young, I used to think, the unrequited love, oh, that was heartbreaking. But now I'm old, it's like that was nothing compared to what I'm dealing with now. And all because two people fucked. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. That's what happened. Two people fucked, and now you have to suffer and die. That's the gist of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And how they don't see this is, I guess, is like social experimentalist says, it's the DNA molecule. It's got to be driving it, because the logic is just gone.
I mean, say that people are no smarter than cats and dogs. I think we should actually lower that. I think
right.
They're no smarter than ants.
How about amoebas? Amoebas.
It's like they have no deliberation whatsoever. They just act according to their biology. It's so funny. It's so funny because when it comes to that original imposition, ethics goes out the window. But once you're here, now all of a sudden you're supposed to be so ethical. Now all of a sudden ethics becomes so relevant.
Right. And consent. All of our laws and our society is based on consent. You don't rape somebody, although, if you don't have sex with somebody unless they consent, otherwise it's rape. You don't work for a company unless both the company and you consent to the agreement. All contracts are based on mutual consent, but not when it comes to creating life.
Right. The soul contract is not mutual. They claim that you consented. Let me
right.
Sadeo, there's a lot of subhuman humans. Well, Schopenhauer referred to them as grazing cattle. They're capable of deliberation. They behave. They don't act.
And the thing is, they think pregnancy happens to them. Like, it's like, oh, I fell pregnant. No, you had sex. And there's a chance that if you had sex, you'd get pregnant. I remember once when I was a kid, I was like 7 or 8 years old, and my dad and I were playing a game, and he looked up at me and goes, you know how lucky you are that you're healthy, relatively intelligent, all your blessings. It's like, you know how lucky you are, asshole, that I wasn't autistic or deformed or mentally retarded? Did you do a genetics test before you plugged that puss? Sorry. I get angry on the subject.
They lament having children who have disabilities. They can't stand it.
I know. I have an aunt who has a fairly autistic child. He's low functioning. He's not violent, thank God, but he's very low functioning. He can barely speak English. And she blames the medical establishment for not having a cure for it. I said, well, look between your legs, honey.
I want to respond to this comment. I will need to get a mic first, and English is not my mother tongue, but as you said, getting questioned live can lead to strange answers, and what's out is out. Here's the thing about it, though. It's not as easy as it looks. People think it's so easy to get up here and talk. No, actually, it's difficult, because the reason why I say things when it comes to my head is because I'm not actually a good public speaker. I will forget things that I want to say. Sometimes I'll say things out of sequence. And so it's actually difficult. That's why I prefer to have other people up here so that we can have a back and forth. They can ask questions. If I have questions in the comment section, I can respond to it. But if it's just me talking, just me ranting on about nothing, I'm not very good. Like I've gotten better at it because now I take notes before I do my live streams. But I think that once you come up here and you try to do it, you will see that it's not easy.
I think you're a great public speaker myself.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, I appreciate it. Y'all just listen to the live stream I did the other day. It was terrible. It was terrible. I actually have to delete it.
You did not.
Well, if you don't have people come up and participate, it's you're just talking in the wind, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the key thing is participation.
Right. Exactly.
Because you get other people's perspectives, you get other people's life stories, you can hear, some of the trials and tribulations they've dealt with. They can share their family experience. I didn't have a miserable family. I had a pretty good family. I was treated fairly well. But
yeah, I was getting ready to ask you, Pastor D. What was your breaking point there? I mean, just out of curiosity.
Breaking point?
Before you decided to do what you might have done in there. You know what I'm talking about? What brought you to that point?
All the death I experienced at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
We had a sheepdog that I loved. Oh God, that dog meant everything to me. Mm-hmm. And it died when I was like 6 of leukemia. Then they got another one, and it died of the same thing when I was 11. Mm-hmm. Then I had a grandmother die, and then a great-grandmother, then a father. And it's like, what's all this death? Mm-hmm. And then I realized I was going to die too. And it's like, well, what the fuck is the point of this?
So that was your breaking point, death.
Death, yes.
The idea, the fact of death. Yeah.
Yes. 10 years old. That's when yeah. Uh-huh. And I look at.
But this was when you were in church. But this was when you were in church, right?
I have a church of antinatalism. You need to attend.
No, I'm saying, but that when you were thinking about the death, weren't you going to church then at that point? Or no?
No, I really. When I was I don't know, up to like 7 years old, we went to a Christ church, which is like Episcopal. Mm-hmm. But then my parents stopped going, so I never had to go. Mm-hmm.
I'm reluctant to share personal stories now, just because I feel like every time I do, it becomes fodder for somebody else's channel. So the only thing I will say, I'm not going to talk about my actual breaking point. I will say that at 8 years old, I did not want to exist. I grew up in an abusive household. I did not want to be here. I never really changed my mind about that. I never felt like I wanted to be here. So I'm here because I think that opting out, like through self-administered means, is probably going to be painful, and it's not even reliable. So if I had the option of medical assistance, I would have taken it a long time ago. That's why I'm fighting to decriminalize it. I don't want to have to do it myself.
Yeah, you wouldn't give yourself an appendix operation. You wouldn't give yourself a vasectomy. Right? I mean, it's the same thing. You want it done effectively and right by a competent person. Make sure it's painless and efficient.
Okay, let me read this comment. I mean, you are like an expert in this field. The question is, what are you sacrificing for this? You are advocating for death, but how would look on the other side, where you cherish life? I sacrificed a lot. I spent many hours on YouTube talking about antinatalism and the right to medical assistance in dying. I should be focusing on myself. I could be working. I could be actually making money when I'm on here. There's been times where I plan live streams, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to work. I could be getting overtime or doing something else. I sacrifice. I mean, whatever. I don't want to do this whole woe is me, but I've put up a lot of stuff. I've neglected my own life to sit here talking shit on YouTube. So My time is very valuable, and not only that, because I have been on YouTube, I have been subjected to harassment, where I've been ostensibly doxxed, people weaponizing stuff that I've said, subjecting me to more emotional abuse. And so it is what it is. I have not made any money off this. I've sold a few books, but I don't think that I don't think I've even broke even. Yeah, it's been a complete loss, a complete sacrifice, but it's like I hope that at some point I can have some deliverables. I hope that if we can actually get together and decriminalize medical assistance in dying, then it would have been worth something. But I'm not going to talk about that on YouTube because I don't want. There's plenty of people who want to sabotage what I'm trying to do because they want to put their name on it. They want to be the center of attention. They don't actually give a fuck, but they want it to be all about them. They know that this has potential, but they want, now that I brought it up, because they were never talking about this before, now that I brought it up, they want to be the face of it. For whatever reason, don't even live in the United States, have no stake in this whatsoever, but they want to hijack and they want to bottom feed off shit that I fucking initiated. So I don't think that they should. If you want to do that, nobody's fucking stopping you. The fact that I'm doing it does not stop me from doing it in any way, shape, or form. I don't know why you would need to make posts talking about how, oh, well, I'm the attorney. I'm the one who should be doing it. Then fucking do it. Fucking do it. I'm not stopping you. It's like take some fucking initiative, right? Organize, do whatever, find funding, do whatever the fuck you need to do. Like, why? I don't understand because I started something because you want to ride my fucking coattail. What, I'm supposed to bring you into the fucking fold when you don't fucking support it? And you've done nothing but talk shit and fucking trash my fucking book? No, I had to do this shit the fucking hard way. And it's not even a guarantee. I still gotta raise fucking money. I still have to do the fucking work. This is not fucking easy. Like,
did you get the 2 directors you were looking for?
Yeah, but again, I don't want to talk about that on YouTube because I don't want
okay.
people to docs. But
okay.
Even
no, I don't want names. I just want to know how that's going.
Even if I get my nonprofit, that does not stop you from starting your own nonprofit. How about this? How about you compete against me to see who can actually get it done first? Right? Why does it have to be one or the other? It has to be, oh, because I'm doing it, you can't do it. I'm not stopping you. Fucking do it. It's like these fucking excuses. You never took up the mantle. You had years and years to fucking do it. And now that I'm doing it, you're complaining about how only the experts should be able to do it. By the way, that's another thing that I am against. I'm against credentialism. I'm against deferring to the fucking experts, appeals to fucking authority, because you're a fucking raggedy attorney who's not a fucking activist. I don't have to defer to you. This should come from the fucking people. This should be the people advocating for their own fucking rights. It should not be the fucking attorneys doing this shit. We don't want the fucking attorneys in this shit. A fucking non-attorney is going to fucking do it, and you can just sit back and watch and eat your fucking popcorn.
So there.
But that's what they want to do. They want to sit on the sidelines, pontificating, spectating. They want to see what's in it for me. How can I benefit from this? They don't want to be irrelevant, but they're too fucking cowards to do the fucking work. They want to sit on the sidelines, bitching and complaining while doing absolutely nothing. If you're not doing the fucking work, then you don't get a fucking say in this shit. I mean, why should I defer to you? I see what this is. I should hire a fucking attorney so that we have to pay you fucking $500 an hour. So you would take all the fucking money that I raised and it would go nowhere except inside your fucking pockets, and then we would actually do nothing. So the fact that I'm actually doing it for free is a problem because you didn't get your fucking cut.
Who are you talking to?
This fucking Europe dog. He's the fucking attorney.
Oh. Is he in the comments? Is he in the comments? Oh,
What I
okay.
read earlier, about his post that he said.
Yeah, right. No, it's admirable because I can't tell you, like my brother's girlfriend, she had 2 kids, and she's like, well, you can just check out if you want to. It's legal. And she doesn't understand it's only legal if you're terminally ill and you're in advanced stages of terminally ill, and it's only in a couple states. It's not for people who just don't want to be here. You just can't go see a doctor and get screened and say, okay, I'll push the button for you.
Okay, I don't understand. I'm responding to this comment.
Okay.
No. I know what you sacrifice. I mean, do you miss out by doing not the other way? It could be lover, laugh, good vibes, nature and stuff. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand your question. At the end of the day, I don't own my life. So I'm assuming you're asking, can I just choose to be happy? No, I cannot. If I don't own I don't think there's a such thing as a happy slave. Maybe there is, because plenty of people are happy being a slave and they don't seem to give a shit. I cannot be happy as a slave if I don't own my life. If I'm enslaved to the state, then there's no possibility of me being happy. If I can't even earn a livelihood without a license from the fucking state, and the state can actually force me to live a life of poverty, then there is no possibility of happiness. There is no happiness without freedom. If the state can control whether you eat or starve, then happiness is an impossibility. Apparently, most people don't care about freedom. Someone actually explicitly said that on my channel. So no, it's not possible for me to be happy. It's not possible for me to be content with being enslaved. I don't want to be a fucking slave. So I hope that answers your question.
And not only are we a slave to a job, but we are a slave to our bodies. I mean, I have to do all my biological functions. I have to shower every day. I have to shave. I have to brush my teeth. I have to floss. I have to gargle. I have to get dressed. It's just the same fucking shit. And then I have to get some kind of reasonable amount of exercise against my will. And it's hard for me because I've suffered a nervous damage. I mean, it's so tedious. And if you can find happiness in the tedium, more power to you. But it's hard for a lot of people.
I know some of you are new to the channel, so maybe this is your first time listening to what I have to say, but you can read my book, you can listen to my older content. I already explained my position about this, like, repeatedly. So there is no happiness for people like me. We don't want to be here. If you want me to be happy, then you can support my right to medical assistance denied. That's the only thing that's going to make me happy.
And it's a personal choice. It's your life.
The bottom line is that everything you do in this life, I don't care if it's for yourself or whatever you do, or for somebody else, you pay a price for it. Everything has a price.
Sure does.
Okay?
Everything.
I mean, just like you said, Pastor D, you gotta shave, you gotta wash on your arms. You gotta have soap for that. You gotta buy the soap. Okay? I mean, this sounds stupid, but you gotta buy into the system to take care of yourself.
Yep.
Okay? Everywhere you turn, you're putting out a dollar bill.
I just love how they tell us to look at the other side as if the other side hasn't been crammed down our throats. As we don't already know the other side.
What's the other side? Tell me what the other side is. How many flowers do I have to look at?
that's gonna die. The flower's gonna die.
Yeah, right. They're gonna die. They're gonna be beautiful for about 3 days, and then they're gonna wilt and die.
The
Exactly.
other side has told us that life is sacred, life is wonderful.
Well, that's great, but tell me how.
They have told us that life has a purpose, but they can never tell us what the purpose is.
Right.
And so I know the other side intimately. I am very familiar with what the other side thinks, or actually their lack of thinking, because they don't think. The shit This shit is utter nonsense.
Have you ever noticed how much longer the negative things last than the positive things?
Uh-huh.
Have you ever noticed the duration of the bad versus the good? When something good happens to you, when something good happens to you, it's over, man. It happens, boom, boom, okay? And then the next second, something bad happens.
Well, it's like, to give an example, it's like if you enjoy food, right? That's a short moment of pleasure, but you're hungry a lot longer than you're enjoying that food. Like,
right?
Yep.
Longer, or any pleasure that you experience is always temporary.
And you might even get an upset stomach for what you eat.
It's
okay?
like you may get a new car, and then, oh, I love this new car, and then that is fleeting because now the car is old, and now you have to work to buy a new car.
Right. Yep.
I think it was Amendment that said this. There's no such thing as perpetual pleasure, but there is such a thing as perpetual pain.
Oh,
that should tell you everything you need to know.
Yes.
Right, and suffering is constant. Happiness or whatever pleasure is a temporary sensation of suffering. It's a temporary movement where you're not, I don't know, you have something that is joyful, but suffering is the baseline.
Yeah, you're more or less, when you have joy, you're appeasing the suffering. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
You're trying to take the edge off of the suffering that you're up against.
You're thirsty, so you drink.
Which is why people always clamor for the good stuff in life. They try to clamor for the enjoyable moments. Okay?
Yep.
To mask the bad part that they have to go through every day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yep. Yeah, you work for 10 hours a day at a job so you can afford decent food and some entertainment that's very short term.
Yeah, and it takes your mind off the bad shit. Okay?
Yep.
They want to mitigate the suffering. They don't want to eliminate it completely. They just want to make it incrementally better, make it tolerable. It's like we don't have to suffer at all. What's the point of this?
And I think that's what either Benatar or somebody said, that the joy, the bad always outweighs the good.
Right.
Was that Benatar that said that? I don't know who it was.
Yeah, that was Benatar.
Yeah. And that was one of the first persons I listened to. Okay? David Benatar.
Yeah, I saw this movie on antinatalism, and it was a child being interviewed by his parents on a TV, and the kid goes, the unborn kid on the TV interviewing his parents goes, "Dad, would you exchange 2 minutes of the most agonizing pain known for 2 hours of the most blissful pleasure?" And the wife goes, "No, can you imagine what could happen to you?" And you think about it, yeah, you get a fork in your eye, or you could, all kinds of miserable conditions. And the absolute bliss that you can imagine, okay, well, a body rub, okay, even that gets old after a while, but the pleasure is nowhere near as intense as the pain can be.
Mm-hmm. Chronic. Pain is chronic.
Right.
Ongoing. Never ending sometimes with people, especially as you get up in age.
Oh, yeah.
It never leaves you. It's just there every damn day you wake up,
You and I are about the same age, yeah. We know.
We can talk about that, maybe. So young people don't know anything about that. Young people can't relate to that, but they will one day. Okay?
Your little infants will spend a lot less time being a cute little infant than they will being an old person, most likely.
Exactly right. Yep.
They'll be young and healthy for maybe 10, 15 years. And then, we can live to 80, 90 now. And your body starts going in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, it's like going on a vacation. Okay? You're all excited about going on a vacation. Well, it lasts 5 or 7 days, and you're right back to where you were before you went on the vacation. You know, you're going right back to reality again. You know, the humdrum, the routine, you know, the system. You're going right back to it. And actually, the vacation is part of the system. The way the system works. You know, it's kind of like it's kind of like it's kind of a like putting candy, you know, in front of the baby, so you won't cry when you have to go back into the crib again. Okay.
Right. And you spend 50 weeks in the crib and 2 weeks out of the crib.
You got it. You got it, Pastor D. You got it.
Man.
Hey, I'm gonna have to go pretty soon. Do you guys have any like final comments?
Please, men, get a vasectomy. It takes 15 minutes. You recover in a day and a half.
Mm-hmm.
You do not lose any sensations. You don't even know you've had it after a week. It's a lot easier for men to be responsible than it is for women, because women's a 3-day operation inpatient. LA, you're doing good work. It is a niche in our system that needs to be addressed. And this is coming from a guy who's tried to do it twice with pills, and I was met with resistance by the medical system to extract profit from me, not only in the emergency room, but, you know, in the psych ward for 10 days after that.
Mm.
People need to, it's too easy to make life. It should be just as easy to end it. Sorry if that's gloom, but
well, especially when you didn't ask to be here. There's no consent.
There you go.
I mean, that's what the bottom line is. Yeah, there was no consent.
And parents, if you make a baby, that baby's soul could spend eternity in hellfire. Think about it. Would you want to do that to your kid? You know you're killing them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not only are you killing them, they could spend eternity in hell.
Mm-hmm. And you're also
That's
putting a lot of anxiety on them too. Even if they do start believing, they still got the anxiety hanging over their head every day.
And you make them wage slave. You make them get old, and you make them die. Is that really worth the little giggly, cute little baby that lasts for 2 years, maybe?
You're born to die.
Yep.
That's all there is. That's all I got to say. You're born to die.
Yeah. And you're going to invest all that money. You're going to spend $300,000 raising them, another $100,000 to put them through college. Mm-hmm. Then they're going to have to spend a couple $1 million sustaining themselves, just to all go a big hole in the ground. Does that make any sense?
And the system's always pressuring you to get the next thing for them. Okay.
Right.
Buy some more shit to satisfy them and, appease their, whatever they want. It's just feeding the system, man. It's all you're feeding the system.
Yep.
By responding to these comments, but they could also become legends, like you only point out the one side, don't aim for greatness. I've already addressed Nietzsche and the will to power overcoming. The bottom line is that we never chose to overcome anything. By existing, you are already overcoming because you're maintaining an existence that you never chose. At the end of the day, nobody gives a shit about us. And so they don't care that we're suffering. And so if they're not going to advocate for you, the only thing you can do is advocate for yourself. You matter, your suffering matters, and you should not be forced to exist. Do not try to ignore your own suffering so that you can serve other people's purposes. They want to extract. They have no empathy. And I don't even think that you should engage with these people. These people who want to convince you to stop advocating for antinatalism or the right to die. No, you should continue doing that. And if these people want to convince you that you're wrong, then You only you know what you're experiencing. You know that what your suffering is like. Only you pay the cost for your involuntary existence. Their opinions don't matter. And with that, I am going to end this live stream. I appreciate you guys for being here.
Well, thank you, LA. It was good.
We
And I hope you have
appreciate
a
it.
good night.
All right. Take care.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Bye.